Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg. It is the 22nd day of October 2024 today, and welcome to our show. First hour, we have Lawful Defense with John Tater. Second hour, we have American Security with Frank Deal, Christina Holbrook, and Melissa Fryzel. So welcome today. We got lots to talk about, and I'm going to start with my buddy, Mr. Tater. Are you there?
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Good morning. I guess wake up to the coffee or something here. So okay. So what is it? I am not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an American. Blah, blah, blah. Pull it down a little more. I want my country back. Yes, that's exactly what it is. You know, I had a discussion with a bunch of people this week about identity politics. And we talked about, they were asking me if I wanted to head up some sort of coalition. I'm like, no, I'm not really into identity politics of any sort of thing. You know, I like to get along with everybody, but I'm not going to be part of like splintering the United States any more than what it is. You know, we need to be able to talk to everyone as one American family, children of God, and that's great. So I'm going to be a floater. That's what I am. I'm a floater. You know how you get older and you have floaters in your eyes? That's me. So, okay. Well, so we got to talk about we got talking before we're online here today. I'm going to share a screen here because this is our choice as we work through our countdown the vote. This is our other choice. Welcome to the 2024 election, the worst choice on the whole freaking planet is this cackling imbecile. I'm trying to be nice here. And so I can't even imagine that people are actually considering this woman as someone who is actually even a considerable, I don't know. I just can't.
It's an embarrassment to have a Harris sign on your lawn.
I would think it would be an embarrassment. I mean, that's the failed IQ test right there. We saw what we did this week. Is that she said that you were bringing it before. She said that she had worked at McDonald's. There's no evidence for it, but at least President Trump, the rightful president of the United States, made it work in 15 minutes more than she worked there.
That's right.
I gotta show you a couple things. So as our countdown is 14 days to what day, boys and girls? What day? Election day. So we're going to continue our countdown, voting for President Trump, the rightful president of the United States of America, as we vote for him. Because why? Because his rights were violated, and we need to defend him like we would any other American, not because we like him or dislike him, but because we stand for each other's rights. And the law was broken. There was more evidence of of criminality, of criminal interference, of treason in this individual issue of our stolen elections than anything that's ever been criminally committed in the history of the world, in my opinion. There's so much evidence because we're living in a surveillance state, and guess what? They created the tools against us. We're using them against them, and they can go pound sand because we're going to get them. We're going to get them all.
So first of all, before we even get into the nonsense and the lying part of Kamala Harris, we gotta go back to why is she even on the ballot? Because the Democrats shouldn't have allowed her to get on the ballot because she's not an American natural born citizen. You have to be a natural born citizen to run for presidency in our country. It's in the federal Constitution. That's one of the requirements, being a natural born citizen. And that means that before you are born, or when you are born, your mother and your father have to be citizens of this country, and then you could be natural born. Both her parents were not citizens when she was born. One was from Jamaica and the other one was from India, I guess. So she's not a natural born citizen, and that disqualifies her right off the bat. And everybody should realize that. Now, where do you find that information that she is not a natural born citizen? That comes out of a Supreme Court case called Minor versus Happersett. It's not in the Constitution that identifies natural born citizen. It is, in fact, the Supreme Court that identifies or spells out what it is to be a natural born citizen. And she's not. And she's not. Obama was not either, and Obama should have never been allowed to run for president either. But the Democratic Party, which is corrupt, and this shows the illegitimacy of the Democratic Party, that could actually allow somebody to become or run for president in violation of the law of the republic of which we live. So we have to start right there first before we pick on her for being the imbecile that she is, which she is, that she is not a natural born citizen. And for that alone, that reason alone, she's not allowed to run for president. She should not have been chosen for vice president either, because vice president takes over the presidency when the president dies, and she is not a natural born citizen.
So there you go. So anybody voting for Kamala or the cackling Kamala, we should get it like a cackling Kamala bobblehead or something like that. Let's do that. So anybody that votes for her does not understand the law and what the United States was based on, going back to the foundations, and is violating. They're actually a captured asset at that point in time and an enemy of the state for voting for Kamala.
That is absolutely correct.
They're an enemy. Anybody that votes for her is an enemy of the United States right there, because they are literally voting in as someone who is not qualified as an American to be president.
Natural born citizen.
Natural born citizen. That's it. I hate to say it, but you know what? I think it's Germany that has maybe not Germany. There's a couple of countries that you have to be in the country for several generations before you can vote. The United States is an anomaly, and that they gave people that came here the ability to naturalize and be able to vote. But there's countries across the world that you have to be here for. I think one of them is like, I don't know, it's a crazy amount of generations, like 7 generations I saw.
Well, the problem with allowing her to run for office, we are not a nation of people making decisions. We are a nation of laws. And if we violate the nation of laws, then anything goes. You put these people in office, and you put some foreigner, and she's a foreigner, put a foreigner in office at the high office, and everything goes. You can do anything you want. You can lie, cheat, and steal. The government doesn't have to follow their oath of office, as Alan Dershowitz says. Oh, they violate their oath of office all the time. They should be in jail, not allowed to sit in that seat that they were elected for. There's a lot of politicians, public functionaries that do that. We could name them, but we'd be here all day naming them.
Like every damn one of them? How's that?
Well, there's a few in there, a handful, that are probably legitimate and probably following their oath of office and probably following the laws of the republic.
Okay, we'll see everyone but one of them. Everyone but one. There you go.
But the most part of them are violating their oath of office, and we allow it because we, the people, are voting for Kamala Harris, who is not a natural-born citizen and has no right to run for the presidency. Wake up, folks. If you're still in question about that, go to Minor versus Happersat and read it. It's there all over the place. It's quoted throughout that article as to what it means to be a natural-born citizen. And she is not. And Obama was not. And yet we put these people in office and we expect something different. Isn't that insanity?
Well, it's a threat. It's a foreign threat at that point in time.
Voting for the same criminals and expecting a change.
Yeah, and not only that, I mean, of course they're selling it off, and I have a huge problem. I have a huge problem with a lot of this stuff. The anybody that walks on the American soil, like under the let's say the Palestinian flag doing their protests, I'm sorry, that is not okay. Yeah. That is absolutely, every single one of those people should be charged, because that is literally fighting for a foreign country on American soil. That is. Or if you've got dual citizenship with Israel. Now I saw a video and I posted this on, I'm going to see if I can bring this up on my X channel. Let me see if I can bring this up a minute. And it was a person who was Jewish that was talking about why the Jews should absolutely disengage from Israel as a country. He said, being Jewish is a religion. Israel as a country is a country. And he was talking about Zionism. And we have Christian Zionists. It's like just another word for globalists. It really is. And so when we look at this, people say, oh, no, watch out. The ADL is going to come after Donna Brandenburg, whatever. But the reality is that we should have no protected classes of citizens or people whatsoever. People should, if people want equality, then this kind of nonsense has got to stop, of giving privilege to some but not others, so that we can fragment people and beat on this whatever sector they've divided us into. It doesn't matter. But it's either things are either good or evil. I don't care what the label is. Everything has been compromised, and it's unfortunate. But let me see if I can find this video, because I thought it was really good.
The first article of the Federal Constitution says there is no title of nobility allowed in this country. And yet we have allowed it by allowing the bar to be esquires. That's a title of nobility. That's not allowed under the first article. And we have allowed it. We the people. And you run out, you got to go, oh, I got to get an attorney because I'm being sued, or I got to sue somebody, rather than say, I need to look into the law and find out what the law says. I'm not smart enough to do that. So I have to hire somebody to do it for me. This crap about hiring a professional because you're too stupid to figure it out is the dumbest thing you could possibly do in life, because you still don't know what's going on. And they can take you to the cleaners, which they do. Doctors aren't any better. They'll tell you need this pill, you need that pill. This pill will fix that pill, and so on and so forth. And they eventually pill you and kill you to death. So you have to be intelligent. You have to take your health into your own hands and your laws into your own hands. And you'd be surprised if you stick it out and you do a little education, how easy it really is.
This is really interesting. It's not showing my posts here, so I'm going to see what's going on, because I thought it was a really good post, actually. So this is interesting. They're hiding some of my posts on this version of it. Okay, well, let's just see what's going on here a minute. Keep talking amongst yourself, please. Talk amongst yourself.
You got to exercise your mind. You got to exercise your mind as you exercise your body. Everybody goes out and jogs a mile or whatever so they can stay physically in shape. But they don't exercise their mind. They go brain dead. I'll just rely upon a professional to fix my problems. No, you got to do it yourself. You can't rely upon anybody to take care of anything. Remember, living in a republic, you got to be self-reliant. You got to be self-governing. And if you do that, then you are the sheep in the democracy.
True enough. This is important. I'm going to play this video. So just keep going here, John. I'm almost there. I've got 4 screens going and multitasking marginally well.
So going back to our candidate for presidency, Kamala cannot be a candidate for president. She cannot run for president. She cannot hold that office. Now, why are the Republicans not yelling up and down and screaming and hollering about that?
Can't you just see how she would react? Okay, Iran has missiles pointed at the United States. Ha 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 ha. Oh, isn't that funny? Yeah, can you see her reacting that way? I can. It's like, are you kidding me? Are you serious?
Do you not understand? I do not understand why the Republicans are not saying you can't run for office. And why hasn't President Trump stated that also? You can't run for office. You're not an American. You're not a natural born citizen. You can't run for office. Prove your natural born citizenship.
I can't say you're wrong. People need to be speaking out on this. And, sometimes I wonder if it's because we're trying to get through to the village idiots that aren't listening to anything, which anybody that's here listening to this Brandenburg News Network, I'm going to tell you, you put up with our very raw news evaluations of things. You're not in that group, so don't get your butt hurt over this, but you know what I'm talking about. Everybody knows. So I did this post this morning. And one of the tenets of Marxism, let me grab my book here. I've got a couple of them. Liberating Planet Earth, which is a biblical blueprint series, really lays out how the Marxists always take over religion. So I posted this morning because one of the things that they've weaponized against people is religion. And they did it. The reason why they did it or how they did it was to replace God with a state. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this thing play.
We need Jews to understand that Zionism is not their identity. First step, all Jews, especially those in Israel where nationality equals Jewish is officially on their identity cards, they should all renounce their Jewish nationality. All Jews should say, there is no such thing as a Jewish nationality. And that's it. If you want to undo Zionism, this is the quickest way to do it. Once Jewry, world Jewry, and people who are not Jews publicly say, no, the Jews are not a nationality, they're religion, and Israel is not my state. Israel's not the country of the Jews. This will be much more effective than any boycotts or economic pressures. Let Israel be the country of the Israelis, not the country of the Jews. The idea that you as a Jew, because you're a Jew, are connected to Israel is Zionism. Anti-Zionism needs to include the idea that I'm American. I have nothing to do with Israel. Again, the cornerstone of Zionism is that the Jews are a nationality and Israel is its state. That needs to be negated. We need Jews to understand that
I think that it was absolutely well said. And there's a lot of crossover with Christianity right now too, and Islam. When we see that they are how do I say this? We need to have the morality and the standard of following God. There's no two ways about it. You can't run a nation that's not based on God Almighty. I do believe that because that's the only standard that we have. You watch what happens when they remove God from anything, and it just goes completely to hell because people start making up rules as they see fit, and that's what Satanism is based on. Albert Pike laid it out there. You've got Crowley that laid it out there. And as do what thou will and such, meaning you can make a standard up on whatever you want. And I mean, there is no standard when it comes to people just doing whatever they want to do. It has to be based on a standard set by God Almighty. There's no two ways about it. But when a nation states are infiltrated and they try to merge the two, they actually treat the people who are believers as captured assets and use it against them. This book lays it out so well, it's unbelievable. So that's where I was going with this. Religion, the popular religious system known as liberation theology, is an attempt to combine the revolutionary communism of Karl Marx and the language of certain passages in the Bible that make it sound as if the Bible preaches communism's bloody revolution and socialism. There's more to that, but it's interesting. So anyhow, going back to that, I wanted to hit that this morning. So let's go back to what you were talking about as I get off on a rabbit trail.
Well, if you are talking about socialism versus a republic, and people don't know the difference, because that's what it is. Democracy is socialism, basically, because it's the majority rules and the minority follows. So if you're pushing democracy, that means we can have 50 plus 1%, 1 voter. 50 plus 1 voter can tell 49 voters or 49 people what to do. That's a democracy. You have no rights. Those rights can be voted in and out. You can you could have rights, or you don't, or we could take them away from you. We just vote them away. And they have been doing that in the state of Michigan on a constant basis. Those last 3 amendments that they voted on in the last election did exactly that. And so we are in a society right now where we are allowing the dictators, which are the 3 whores in Lansing, to dictate policy to us. And they really have no authority to do that. But we follow along because, wow, that's the governor and she's powerful. No, she's not. She's just the public functionary. She functions in a position in government which she has been elected to do. That's all.
Well, and let's look at this. The point, I guess, the point to connect this to Zionism and such is look at how many dual citizens we have in office or in appointed positions in the United States. We should never have that. And that man said it exactly the way he should have. It's like, if you're going to come here and serve America, you can't serve 2 masters. You should not. We should not have people who are dual citizens with Israel or Somalia or whoever it is. You're either an American or get the hell out. And you know what I mean? It's like all of us can claim a history in other countries. You know, all of us can. And it doesn't mean that in a virtue signaling type of way, social justice warrior, that you're better because you come from somewhere. That's great. We're better because we stand together as human beings and Americans in the United States of America as a melting pot to become our own culture. If you want to go and be, you know, I could like go put on a pair of wooden shoes on because I've got Dutch in me and parade around as, you know, a Dutch American, but I'm not purely Dutch. That's the other thing. It's like I'm truly a mutt. I'm a mixture of a bunch of different countries. In my history, French Huguenots. I mean, I've got a whole bunch of different ethnicities in my background. So I claim any one of them, which I find is, you know, kind of a little bit abhorrent, really, because the greatest thing that America accomplished, which has never been accomplished anywhere else, is welcoming everyone in and standing together as one nation. It's not trying to take over the United States and all of a sudden make it into a specific country. If you want that, then we need to go back to where we came from and live that culture full time. But America has its own culture. There is a culture in America, and it's a beautiful thing. I mean, I love going to all the festivals. I'm going to tell you that right now. I love going to the Greek festivals. I think the Greek festivals are great, but I like Greek food. So or anything else. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but when you have people serving in office who are there to represent other countries' interests at the expense of America, we got a big problem, because all they're going to do is try to take what Americans have made, what we've built, and commandeer it for you know, almost a parasite way to siphon this away and siphon money away to their own countries. And then of course, throw in the proxy countries like that really aren't a country, like Ukraine. The CIA is running that. The intelligence organizations are running it. It's a proxy country of the United States. There's about 7 of them in South America, Central America, and across the world that are bought into these. There's more across the world, but I mean that have bought into this being proxy countries for the United States of America. They're not even a real country. But at this point in time, because we don't have an election, America really isn't either. But it's going back to that. I mean, we can still save it, but we've got a bunch of parasites that are representing foreign interests sitting in the seats.
Yeah. First of all, when you get into office, you actually take an oath of office. And that oath of office and your function in office is to do one thing, and that's to protect the Constitution of the United States. Problem is that 99.99%, maybe only 1%, or maybe less than 0.5% read the Constitution, actually know what it says. Here again, I go back to the Republicans. Why haven't the Republicans denounced Kamala? Why haven't they said you're not a natural born citizen and therefore you cannot run for presidency? Why haven't they done that? We have a 2-party system. That's the quickest way to kick her off the ballot.
They're all playing politics. I think I'm going to write a resolution on that. You want to help me with that? Write a resolution for the U.S. Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party in the state of Michigan. We are the spoilers. And, we are the ones that will actually step up and say what needs to be said. That
should be brought out, that she's not a natural born citizen. Yeah, that would be a good resolution. And use Minor versus Happersett in there as the proof, because that's the Supreme Court. Supreme Court is the law of the land. That's Article 3 of the Constitution. What the Supreme Court rules, that's the law of the land. We are a nation of law. We have to go back to the nation of law. And if we go back to the nation of law, we won't have all of this BS going on. We'll automatically get rid of the Federal Reserve, because they're not they're not following any laws. They're doing whatever we know. There's nowhere in the Constitution does it allow fiat money to be used in this country. It says specifically, Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, no state can make anything but gold and silver coin a tender and payment of debt. No state can make anything but gold and silver coin a tender and payment of debt. And therein lies the removal of fiat money in every single state of the union.
Well, the Chevron decision gives us the ability to wipe away all of these besides Norton versus Shelby County. I'm going to throw that in there. But it honestly gives us everything we need to get rid of these nonsense organizations, which are just money laundering is all they exist for: money laundering, asset capture, and agents of the communists, which are clearly working to be in control here, working against we the people. So I think we need to go after them. I have another question. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions here because I really want to know the answer to this, and I want to know your opinion on this. Since the United States has the right to coin money, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there a prohibition to use a different type of payment that they control?
I'm missing that question a little.
Well, let's say
can they use Bitcoin?
Okay, hang on. Let's just say that Byron Township, where I live, decides that we want to have our own currency. Is that prohibited?
No, within Byron itself, the Byron Township itself could use anything they wanted to take care of whatever's going on in Byron. However, in commerce with another county or another state, it wouldn't be useful. You couldn't.
So commerce is crossing borders.
Say again?
Commerce is crossing borders.
To a degree, yeah, that's correct. But borders meaning county lines also. city lines, county lines, that kind of stuff. If I was in my own state or in my own city, and I decided that I needed to build something in the city, and we didn't have enough ferns, Federal Reserve notes, to build that, I could offer what's a good word? Not script, vouchers that, and if you would accept it, a voucher, then I could say, okay, if you do the brickwork here, I'm going to give you equal to whatever ferns you want in a voucher that you could use within the city limits, and the grocery stores and everybody agreed to it. That would be fine. That's kind of a bartering situation. You can barter. I know the IRS doesn't like bartering because they can't tax it. But then again, it goes back.
It's extortion.
Yeah, it goes back to the funny money system again. The fraud and the fake money and the fake government. Because if we have a fake government, if we have fake money, we of course can have a fake government because we can print all the money we want and pay off people. And that's what we want to stop.
Let's just go ahead and piss the IRS off now too. As long as I've gone after the Zionists, let's go after the IRS too. I think that one should be one of the first things to be absolutely abolished.
Without the Federal Reserve, there would be no need for an IRS, at least to collect income tax, which income tax is not a tax on your wages and your salary, but a tax on your profits and gains. And that's a Supreme Court ruling also. There's several court cases out there that talk about income being a profit or a gain. But we gave them the power to be spooky by allowing them to arrest and abuse citizens. And therefore now people are afraid of them. But they're not to be afraid of if you know the law and you know what their authority is and what their authority isn't. You can fight them. I've been fighting them for a long time because they are an illegal organization. They are de facto. They are usurping authority never granted, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's all because of the Federal Reserve System. If you don't use the ferns, then there's no way they can tax you, because they can't tax you on your labor because you're bartering it. I'll come over and take care of your horses for a day if you come over and take care of my chickens. That's a barter, and we can do that. We have the right to contract exclusively and as much as we want and however we want to. So you and I can contract any way we want to eliminate the ferns and therefore eliminate an income tax on that. I'm going to buy your labor and you're going to buy my labor, and it's just going to be an exchange. And therefore we can do that. That's totally allowed. So can a city or a state, in fact, I think it's South Dakota that has their own bank, has a state bank. And I think it's Wyoming that's looking into using cryptocurrency to pay their fees and charges that they have on the people. So these kinds of things are going on all over the place. Cryptocurrency is gaining all kinds of power federally as well as internationally. There are countries now that are accepting cryptocurrency to fund their needs or to buy things in the international market. And Trump has talked about that too. We can use crypto to exchange with China or Japan or whatever and totally eliminate the Federal Reserve. They won't like that, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to put the power back in the hands of the people and get it out of the hands of the international banking cartel, which has caused this total destruction of the world, basically.
Yes, it's very concerning. I'm a little cautious on the crypto just because I like having something in my hand. It's like I think anytime that it relies on, say, an electronic method, I think we're going to run into some of the same problems. Even though I understand the blockchain part of it, I get it, but I think that what happens if we're hit with an EMP and the power grid goes down? I would want to have something in my hands that we can actually trade.
Well, you can trade, you can have your own wallet in your hand.
Okay, educate me on this then, because I've got some concerns.
See, I have a wallet. This is a
okay.
Wallet. And a wallet is a can you see it? No.
Yeah, I can see it.
USB port that you plug into the computer, and it has your account in there, and it has all your crypto on there.
Okay, so but what happens if the power grid goes down and we get EMP'd?
What happens if the ATMs go down or the banks close?
Well, that's my point. I think I would rather feel more comfortable with having something I can touch,
Well, but how are you going to? Okay, so you got your entire bank account in your house, right? So you can touch it.
Yeah, not necessarily. I don't, but I mean, I think that it's a good idea to have something that you can touch, not just everything in one spot.
If I was worried about the world collapsing, okay, and let's do that, I would have some ferns in my house. I would have my crypto, which is pretty safe, because even if somebody got this thing, they couldn't use it if they didn't know the passcodes or the passwords.
Okay.
So grab that. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't steal my crypto. It's true. If the banking system, if the internet goes down, then I won't have access to that. But then again, if the banking system closes, if we have a bank holiday and the ATMs close, and you didn't take out enough money because either you're living on check to check, and you're paying your bills based on, how much money you make this week and it's gone by next, then you have the same issue as somebody that has crypto. So why not have a little crypto? Why not have some ferns? Why not have some gold and silver laying around I can barter with you with a silver coin. I could say, hey, I'll give you an ounce of silver if you do the following thing. That has value to it, but the fern doesn't have any value. So if the ferns, and that's where we're headed,
the money has no value. It's completely, it's fake. It's all fake, right?
Yeah, right now, they're accepting the fake currency, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be next month, that it's going to be the same. You know what they did in Mexico in the past and other countries?
What's that?
Yeah, you go to sleep one night and the next day you go up and they change the currency.
Yeah, I've seen that happen too.
Now you have no currency because you have the wrong currency, and the currency that you are possessing doesn't have any value to it because it isn't in the marketplace anymore. So now you've gone from having half of $10,000 in the bank, or 10 whatever the Mexican currency is in the bank, to nothing, because the government decided to change it to a different currency.
Yeah, and then you could take it in and exchange it and such, but I've got some concerns about that. Where I would rather have my capital, honestly, it's in knowing really good people and also having a plan together on how we're, like a preparedness plan on going forward. What are we going to do to build forward? Because this world is temporary. The only thing that lasts is the human spirit and how well we create and maintain our relationships. Like in a family. In a family, you work together. Everybody has their own, because you care about each other. You're more interested in them than you are your own good. That's really how a well-adjusted family works. You actually look at other people, you pay attention to their needs or how they're doing, and you try to help fulfill the deficits when you see them. In the American system, or in the system, the monetary system, the system, the satanic system, it's all, what can I get for me? How much can I trade to get more for me?
Yeah.
Whereas in a family situation, which is what we should really be striving for, it's how much can I give to someone I care about? And it would change the whole dynamics, but that would require everyone to have a complete spiritual change in life. Hopefully we'll get there. I'm altruistic. I have a altruistic, not altruistic, it's not the word I'm looking for. I have high expectations that we can achieve that.
I agree. I fortunately have an outstanding family. And last week we had the outstanding family come over from Tennessee. My sister and brother and his wife came over, and my son drove out from Ohio to celebrate several birthdays. We all had a bunch of birthdays, so we all got together and we took care of everybody in one day. They weren't the same day on the birthday, but that was a reason to get together. We've had family reunions throughout the years where everybody gets together, but this was unexpected, a prize, wonderful time where we all got together, and we are a very tight family. We would do anything and everything for each other, and that's what it takes. And I don't understand where there's families out there that are broken, or that don't have it together to be working for each other. Because if you don't work for your family, who do you work for? What do you do? Where's your allegiance lie? For who does it? For whom do you care about? For who do you serve? So families are extremely important. But our government has done everything it could to destroy the family, destroy the kids, make the kids believe that, you can call the federal government or the state government on your family if they tell you can't have something or do
if
something.
You don't get your way. That's what it is. It's spoiled child mentality. If I don't get my way, I'm going to call the government on my neighbor. I'm going to call the government on this. I'm going to call this person. I'm going to get them really in trouble. That is a absolute insane, childish, immature sickness of the mind. To those of us, I can't even imagine somebody doing that. I really can't. And then I had another thing that I love this when people bring out things that on the internet, and they try to get you in trouble in the court of public opinion. And so they print stuff that's absolutely fake. I'm going to bring something up here in a minute because somebody brought it to my attention, and I'm like, what a bunch of morons. Hang on a minute.
Bringing us back to the fake is bringing us back to our Democratic candidate for president, who is fake, who lies, who has lied about her working for McDonald's, Kamala, who has said that she has secured the border, who says that the elections are secure, who says that the economy is good and blames it on Trump when it's not perfect. And Trump's not been in office for 3.5 years. So it's really not Trump that's created this economy. It's the Democrats, and or let's put it back into Biden and Harris's time. Now, Harris says she's going to do all these marvelous things. She could do them right now. She could stop everything. She could close the border tomorrow because she's in charge. And she hasn't done it. And so people are then going to go vote for her for another 4 years to fix the problems she created. Where's the sanity of that? Why are people not paying attention to what's going on? And because they're brain dead as Democrats. They're brain dead Democrats. And that's all they know is I'm a Democrat and I'm going to vote for a Democrat. Why? Because I'm a Democrat. No reason. other than I'm a Democrat, and that's my daddy was one, and my grandfather was one, and therefore I'm one. I don't care about anything else. Or they listen to the television and the programming that's going on the television set, and they are getting programmed to understand that Trump's a bad guy. And they have, what is it, Trump deranged syndrome? What does he call it?
Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, there you go. Trump derangement syndrome. And where'd they get that from? They weren't born with that. They got it from watching their programming. They got programmed to believe that.
Yeah.
Wake up, folks.
Well, there's a new one here that's kind of interesting. There's a site out on Telegram called Unshackle the Mitten, and they go after General Flynn. They go after anyone to try to divide people up. There's a very divisive group of stuff. Anyhow, who in Michigan did recently receive a Flynn endorsement because they're going after General Flynn? That would be Donna Brandenburg for governor. Guess what? We'll go after Donna. Click Donna Brandenburg to see how she hosted Karamo hate hustlers on her show and defended Jonathan Chapman of the Election Integrity Fund when we shared that he is an unapologetic occultist. This is a perfect example of you may only talk to who we approve of, or we're going to go ahead and smear your name everywhere. I talk to everyone, but I put out actual information on people instead of just like spinning it and seeing, I just stick to the issues. I'm not going to sit here and go after somebody without having some receipts behind it. And it's just incredible how divisive people are. It's incredible. So I think it's kind of funny right now. They're just shooting at everybody in order to see if they can make the percentage of correctness stick and go after one. It's unbelievable how divisive these people are. But I digress. I wanted to throw that one out there a minute.
If you tell a lie enough and you tell a big enough lie, then people eventually will believe it. Who said that?
Yeah. I don't remember. The village idiots will believe anything as long as it's printed because it's new information. And now they're in the know. But the in the know is like grabbing a whole bunch of propaganda.
Adolf Hitler said that. That was one of his slogans, not his, but who was the Ministry of Truth in Germany. If you tell a lie enough, if you tell it strong enough, then the people will believe it. So if you tell a lie about Kamala Harris enough, then people believe it, or Biden, or so on and so forth. This is typical propaganda that has been brought on by, we've kind of learned it from the Nazis. And of course, Obama passed the law that said the news media can pass propaganda on to us and use propaganda in their news medias. And so it's Obama that opened the door wide for the news medias to do what they've been doing and telling us lies and getting away with it. But the problem is that the American people, not all of them, but a lot of them that still have Kamala Harris signs on their lawns don't get it, don't understand what's going on.
They got us on teams. They want us on teams all the time instead of being able to make a decision for individuals, So you got to be on the Kamala team. You got to put your signs out there. You got to wear the school colors. You've got to do all this kind of nonsense. It's so childish. It's shocking.
Okay. Again, I go back to Kamala shouldn't be in the presidency. Why is the Republicans not pointing that out? Why are the Republicans not beating the drum on she has no ability, she has no legal authority, she has no constitutional authority to run for the presidency right off the bat? And that would eliminate that problem with putting somebody like that on the ballot. How she ever got to be vice president, it's the same thing. That should have been brought out back then. But then you have to go after Obama because he was not a natural born citizen either. So he had no authority. So when Trump gets into office, which he will do, he will eliminate or put in jail Biden, Kamala Harris, and Obama. And everything that Obama did while in office is null and void because he never had the authority to be in that office to begin with. So all of the people that he voted, that he put into judgeships, that he put into positions, they're gone because they had no authority to be in those positions because the president had known, because the president had known, Obama had no authority to be president to begin with. So that whole thing we could turn this thing around immediately. Now, do the American people in general understand that? And do the American people in general go along with that? I don't know that question. Because when I look out in the public, I still see people that have Harris signs up, people that yell at others because they're wearing Trump hats or that they're having Trump signs on their car. They're violating the freedom of speech. People stealing my signs off my lawn, although that hasn't happened lately. But you're violating my freedom of speech when you take my sign off. I have the exact or right authority to put that sign on my lawn. That's my freedom. It's my freedom of speech, First Amendment. You don't like it, don't look at it. Go down the street and look at somebody else's sign. Go stare at Harris's sign or go buy one and put it in your window. You can do that. I'm not stealing your signs, but why would you steal my signs? Same thing. Freedom of speech. First Amendment.
We all got to agree, and if we can't, then we're going to do propaganda against people to silence them by character assassination. That's the low IQ mentality that's going on. Instead of being convinced that you have the right to your opinion, live it. Don't force it on somebody else. You start doing the win at all costs. You're probably committing crimes doing that, and you know, it's like I don't typically play ball with people that do that sort of behavior. It's just drama for the sake of drama, and it's just so childish. But I want to get back to this whole prep and the money thing a second here before we move on. But talking about being where we're going to put our hands on things that are actually useful. And I just came across this. Okay, so everybody knows I'm a little bit of a prepper. And just because I'm a farmer, farmers know how to put up food and such. But I thought this was a really good, if you're going to build something that's going to last, probably a really good idea would be to get together with your friends and put together a preparedness plan. What the categories are, they have a really good category. It's broken into categories, and I think it's really nice. 71% of Americans don't have a natural disaster preparedness plan, while 48% have no emergency supplies on hand. So I think this is good. So category 1, the necessary things you need is food and water. Category 2, health and hygiene. Category 3, shelter, warmth, and tools. 4 is communication and power. 5 is financial preparedness and important documents. And you can go further than this, but I thought this was pretty well put out here for really basic things that you need to have. I would rather put my time into something like getting people together and finding out what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then being able to stand together when, if and when the lights go out. I believe they're going to. I just don't know. Nobody knows when. But they've really broken this down into some very, very interesting ways to approach it. So key principles to remember: 3 minutes without air, you're going to die. 3 days without water, you're going to die. 3 weeks without food, you're probably going to die unless you practice and you're practiced up on fasting. 5, you got to 2, you got to stay hydrated. When in doubt, throw it out. 4, regularly update your supplies. And safety first. These are good 2-week survival plan basics. Is you need a 3-day emergency kit, essential for most disasters. Long-term resilience at home, you need 2 weeks supply of essentials. And you got to be realistic and practical. So Can we agree on these statements? I know what emergencies or disasters are most likely to occur in our community. I have a family disaster plan and have practiced it. I have a survival kit. I have at least one member of my household is trained in first aid and CPR, and I have taken action to help my community prepare. We're going to be talking about this more on Thursday for Off the Grid, which we've been doing, but I think that they did a pretty good job of putting this together. And I honestly think that's probably a lot smarter than the fiat currency or any of the other nonsense that we've come to rely on.
You can barter with anything. You don't have to barter with currency, but
well, you beans. I mean, you paid for things with beans, which I think is hilarious.
Only government.
Only the government.
Only state government you can use those if you get into court. If you get into court and the court rules against you, you can pay them in beans. That's based on a whole lot of court cases. Supreme Court, the Coinage Act of 1792, I think. All of those. I think there's 6 different laws that I send when I send the beans out. So it's not that I just, send them out. I send it out based on law. And we are a nation of law. And so they have a hard time fighting that battle because if it's a Supreme Court decision, how can even a regular decision in a district court that hasn't been challenged, how can they say that it doesn't apply? Because the Article 4, Section 2 says anything that applies to one citizen applies to all citizens. So if I can do it, or if in the past it was Eugene Glazier that did it to Montgomery Wards, if he could do it, I can do it because the laws are equal to all people in the country. So we have to look at what it takes in order, and if anybody wants to do that and wants to get off and pay in beans, they have to know the law. They just can't do it. They have to know how so they can back it up. This is very simple. And you could stay ignorant and stay broke if you want, or stay chasing after your dollar, your paycheck, or you can get involved and learn the law and do it the right way.
There you go. Yeah, it's really interesting, but the more education we have, the better off we have. You remember the old cartoons? It was like knowledge is power. And, there's some real truth to that we've really been dumbed down massively. All of us, myself, you, everyone, there's things we just don't know. And the more time we spend in it, and I don't mean that as an attack against you. I'm just saying nobody feel bad about this because we've all had to go through the process of waking up because there's things that we just don't know. And there's the more time you spend at it, like you, I mean, you've spent a lifetime in this and really understanding things. But every day, I don't know if you feel this way, but every day I figure something new out that I didn't know the day before. Every day, there's always something I'm like going, dang, why didn't I know this? Or why wasn't I aware of this? It's amazing the process of becoming aware of what we don't know.
I still learn daily too. Every time we get a chance, we read a new court case or we go to court and the judge sticks his foot in his mouth, and we know that, and we see attorneys lie, and we know that. And so we build on every time the courts rule in one way or another, they generally rule and they generally open a door for us to find out a new way of dealing with life. So it's part of the learning process. We're learning all the time. There's no doubt about it. My first battle with the was with the seatbelt ticket 2000, 13, maybe 14, 2000, way back then was my first battle using Norton versus Shelby County. And we scared the bejeebers out of the judge. We didn't realize that. We didn't even have a judge. We had the court administrator ruling. And that was kind of a unique experience. But we learned that's a very powerful. And then as we pushed Norton versus Shelby County, pushed it in front of other judges, in front of other situations. We had found that they don't want to talk about it. They are ignoring it. We even found the Supreme Court, when they wrote an opinion, they left out, does not create an office. They left that part out of that paragraph. Why would they do that? Because they are in an office that is not a legitimate creation. It's not a constitutional creation, therefore doesn't exist. So the bar doesn't exist. But we know that only because of the way things, the nuances that we've been getting when we've been going to court, the nuances that whenever the judge opens his mouth, he says something, and generally we use a lot of that stuff against them.
Which is really important. It's like the licensure, the whole issue of licensing. They don't have the right to issue licenses for 90% or more of what they do, maybe 97%. You should not have to have a marriage license. You don't need their permission to get married.
All the licensing is a ruse. Is
nonsense. It's extortion. And then they take that money, that extorted money, and they put it into all sorts of other requirements now, like the insurance industry, which that is also extortion.
You have a right to work. You have a right to become a healthcare provider and professional if you want to. If you go through the schooling or you go through the hard knocks, and you learn how to handle situations, and you go in, and there's no such thing as a doctor's license, because they have no authority to license a doctor. But this goes all the way back to the people that ran the Federal Reserve Bank. This goes back to Rockefeller and who's the other turkey out there?
Rothschilds, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan. You know, the casting characters of the industrialists, and you could bring it back to the Zionists too, because I mean that's where we're going with this.
Yes.
So I mean, it's just crazy.
The licensing process is phony.
Well, it's making you into a child. You're their child. You may not do this unless I give you permission.
Their control, yes.
Yes, control.
Control.
All right, sir. Last words here today. What do you want to say?
We are going to be at Nicola's this Wednesday, starting at 5 o'clock, 5 to 9. Nicola's is in Southfield on Telegraph, north of 10 Mile. It'll be a face-to-face. Love to have new people show up. We haven't had a whole lot, but we've had a few. Some from this show even. So we will be there. And then the following week, we'll be back on Zoom. That'll be the 30th. And we will be discussing the laws and talking about these kinds of things. Remember, folks, you got to get out and vote. We got to make this vote too big to rig. So yes. Everybody needs to put their vote out there so we can scare the bejeebers out of the Democrats. As a Democratic Party, and I'm not talking about the people, the rank and file of the working class, those people just need to wake up. Because if they wake up, then they'll realize being a party member is a waste of time.
Yep, there you go. 14 days to the election. Vote Trump 2024. We're going on our countdown. We've got our countdown to excellence for defending the rights of an American president, Donald J. Trump.
As Kennedy put it in the past, he said, vote for the Kennedy of your choice, but vote. So this is vote for the Donald Trump of your choice, but vote.
Something. So like I'm the vice chair of the Taxpayers Party, which is the Constitution Party. And what's really interesting is our presidential candidate, Randall Terry, came out yesterday and told everyone who's our presidential candidate to vote for President Donald J. Trump and not him and not Kamala.
Yeah.
Which I thought, he actually said he was going to just try to get or right to life type videos on The View. And he did that, which I want to thank Randy for that he put sanctity of life videos, and he got it on The View, which was really interesting. He did what he said he was going to do in that regard. And he also told everybody in the party, I will not be president. You will not see me in the White House, but I will fight for the sanctity of life, and we will make this an issue. And I thought that was pretty extraordinary, which is interesting. So I thought that was kind of a interesting twist on things. I know there's a bunch of people in the party that are a little annoyed with that, but he actually stated that when he was voted in. So I don't think anybody thought that he was going to come out and absolutely tell everybody, don't vote for him, vote for President Trump. However, the fact that he did that, he did everything else he said he was going to do. So kind of an interesting twist there, which we're in unprecedented times. If you know you're going to lose, wouldn't you just say to the one that was going to actually be able to restore the United States, stand as an American, not a party idiot that is ready to just stand. You know what I mean? If you're going to lose anyhow, what are you going to do? Say, well, keep voting for me. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I ran and I kept running, even though I ran for governor, but it was because I kept my word to my supporters. So I don't know. Probably a dumb argument one way or the other, but at any rate, I'm voting for President Trump. So there you go. Anyhow, thanks for being on here, John. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the next hour, and thanks for coming on. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right.
Have a great time, everybody.
Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it's the 22nd day of October 2024. Welcome to our show, and I'm going to bring on my buddies, Christina, Frank, and Melissa. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you this morning?
I'm
Good.
doing great.
Getting into one of those little personal decision things this morning with Randall Terry endorsing basically and telling everybody to vote for President Donald Trump, which I thought was really interesting. That came out yesterday. But the question is everybody's got a path to take. I thought I'm kind of amused at this. And like I said, I continue to run because of my commitment and my promise to we the people that I was standing with. But I can't knock you for the decisions they make, and I'm not gonna go after people for personal decisions. They have the right to do what they need to do. So there you go.
All right.
Yep, amen.
So what's happening in Christina, Melissa, and Frank world this morning?
Not much.
Yeah,
Same old.
Same S, different day.
Yep.
Yeah, no kidding. So I want to bring up some links that you passed on here, Melissa. It's going to be a minute, so talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right there.
Have you guys seen that Cuba's still without power?
No.
Yeah,
No,
Cuba hasn't.
Girl, I found that interesting. Do you remember what was it a couple months ago that Russia was there in Cuba?
Yes. Well, I'm going a little conspiracy theorist on it because they've been out without power for since Friday. They've had multiple, I guess their power structure, their plants run on some type of oil or fuel, and they are decimated, essentially, so old. But to me, it almost seems like some kind of dry run. Like that's where anytime I see any type of power outages anywhere, you can't tell me like the event that they're saying happened is the reason that it's happening. My mind just goes, our government is way too corrupt. And so is everyone else's government for that fact. So my mind immediately goes to, is this some kind of dry run for like an EMP. And then, I wake up this morning after I've had this thought, and I'm scrolling the news, and there's all kinds of publications about what will happen if the United States goes through an EMP. Well, people are going to die. That's essentially what will happen. But I think
that was what I was talking about this morning, because it's like, what are you going to do if the power grid goes down? Not just the internet. We were talking about crypto. I've got a real question about crypto. If you don't have it in your hand, I mean, look at what's happened to our votes with electronic transfer of information. You are absolutely not immune to being attacked if it's digital. If you're in the digital space, you can be attacked in a physical space too. Okay, so we're going to say that right. Go right off the bat and say that right there. But you are very much subject to an attack in the digital space, having everything you have wiped out or co-opted. I do not believe that there's a way to do it that's safe. And if the power goes off, if the internet goes down, you're screwed. What are you going to do?
Well, I think it's more. Some of us will survive. That's true. The generation that is currently coming up, I don't know how they'll ever exist without the internet, Starbucks, and Crocs. But I think that we need to move back to a traditional way that the United States was in the first place. And I say, my theory: burn it all down, start all over. Because what's going on right now is not beneficial for anybody.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree. I can't say I disagree with you, because the way things are going right now, I think a clean slate and building on going back to what worked at the beginning of the country, because we're so far off base.
Yes.
I mean, there's no two ways about it. So yeah. Chris, you're like sitting there like a lost puppy dog. What you got to say, buddy?
Oh, I'm just listening. I'm just yeah. Well, I mean, she's right, this whole digital bullshit was to get us all dependent upon the government. And for later, when the government says do this and you disagree, they'll shut your phones down. They'll blame it on an attack from another country so that they don't get their shoes muddy. And they're gonna, we have to get away from the government is so up our ass with everything that we do. I mean, when are we gonna wake up and go, fuck you? I'm not paying any more taxes. I'm not giving you any more, and they can come get me. I don't give a shit. But I'm not gonna finance their taking my money and giving it to homosexuals in colleges that want to run and dress up like they're badass Hamas protesters.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give my money to a government that is financing a La Wagua or whatever the hell, the Venezuelan gangs and prisons and all them coming into this country, taking over apartment buildings, taking over Chicago, city blocks and stuff. And no one's doing anything about it. I mean, yet I'm supposed to pay my taxes. You go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
You stick it right up your ass.
Right.
Come and get all of us. Come and get all of us. I mean,
Turn out my goddamn
we're
light.
done.
I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to light a candle and I'm going to lock and load. Come see me.
Come see me. I think a lot of people feel that way right now. When you realize the imperil that the American people are in and how much suffrage that is happening just within our general communities, it's hard to look at it as in a macro level, because you just wouldn't be able to handle it. And then to hear someone say, oh, well, we sent, Ukraine this amount of money, or we sent Israel this amount of money. It's almost, it's just not fathomable what is happening to the American people at the expense of other people's security.
Listen,
And it's disgusting to me.
I have watched people, all these Ukrainian sympathizers, see what's going on in Appalachia. They see that our government has turned their backs, and all they can do is sit like a little mockingbird and find every reason in the world why we should continue to support Ukraine. I've gotten to the point I'm getting very hateful because I'm just done. I'm like, y'all want to keep talking this? Come to my doorstep and we'll talk about it in person because I'm done with it. I'm done with it. Our people are suffering. Our people have been killed. Our people are still suffering. The only people out there helping them that I have seen are other Americans. I did see reports that the National Guard was out there, but you know what? Biden was too late on that. And the only reason they're out there now is for him trying to save face.
Well, Melissa, if you think about it, I'm sorry, but I believe that this is clear weather manipulation. You can look at the frequencies and determine that they pushed that storm. And not only did they push the storm, but they stalled it over that area for 7 hours. And Cincinnati was part of that. And I did not realize it while I was going through the storm and I couldn't sleep for 2 days, but they were manipulating the frequencies, and that affects our body. When you start manipulating frequencies on the earth, especially since like the Schumann reconnaissance, that is our earth beats, our earth's heartbeat. That affects people in mental ways, and they continue to do it. So when you think about this, as being a planned event, maybe they didn't plan it to, kill what I think is going to be like 20,000 people and devastate, city after city after city. But this shit was planned. Like a lot of other things, like the Texas Panhandles, like Lahaina. This is a direct assault on the American people, and there is no two ways about it. And if you can't see that,
if people don't see that our government is capable of this and even think that this is a possibility at this point, they don't have to completely believe it, but to completely rule it out, to me at this point, they're either completely ignorant or they're an enemy of this country.
Right, because they're trying to craft the narrative instead of letting everybody see things and make decisions for themselves. Consider everything, ask a lot of questions until you get to the bottom of it. And fortunately, when you start asking questions, one question usually leads to another and another and another if you're critically thinking. So you're always on that readjust path, trying to get to what the actual truth is. And truth is truth, no matter what we believe. All of us are wrong on some of our positions that we've taken on things. There's no two ways about it. That there's not one person that's got it all figured out. There's some of us that are maybe hopefully closer in issues, but that doesn't mean that we are still not adjusting as we are trying to come to what actually has happened. I would like to see a thorough investigation on all of these outside of the government, because they're protecting their assets. All of this stuff is about protecting the assets of the people that are in power. And they've got one hell of a large organizational, if you looked at their org chart, which you'll probably never find it, of subversion of this nation and the world. That's what they want, control of the world.
But I think the reason a lot of people really have a problem believing some of these things is either they don't believe that our government would do something of this nature because they're too fucking trusting, or they just don't care. Because, when you're sitting on your couch and your bills are paid and your children are good and everything's all comfy, it doesn't really affect you what the next person is going through.
Right.
And it's a sad state of affairs that we live in. And unfortunately, this is nothing. What we're going through right now will be considered an inkling of this shit to come, because when you deal with corruption in this manner, it's sin. It doesn't go away. It bleeds. It starts like you see in Hollywood right now. It's a prime example. I mean, did everyone think that they just gave us this information about P. Diddy because somehow, they broken open the investigation? No, they gave you a little bit because you kept asking for the Epstein files and you wanted those people investigated. So they gave you something else to focus on while they do this, that, and the other. And that's the bottom line of it.
And Christina, I don't know if you saw, go to Robert Kreider's page on Facebook. So the Roswell floods, I want to bring this up on the frequency. Did you see that? He took pictures of the lights in his house the night of the storm that hit Roswell, showing all of his light switches were off, but his smart bulbs were like pulsating light.
Listen, I haven't seen that, but when I was looking at the pictures last night, I was like, it's very odd to me that something is happening in Roswell. Like Roswell, where the aliens were supposed to be. It makes me think that the government is going to continue to create events like this in areas where they need to either discard information or evidence or resources.
Okay. So Chris, you were down in the hurricane area, and thank God you're okay. I was like totally freaking out that something happened to you when you were down there. But you said you saw lights down there too, didn't you?
Yeah, it was pretty strange, and not only me, but when I told somebody else, they said, "Oh, you saw that too?" He says, "I saw. I looked. I was driving at the very beginning on a Wednesday, picking up people that didn't even know, believe it or not, down here that we were going to have a massive storm, and so I'm looking up as I'm driving." I see this flash of light, but it stayed there, and then it just disappeared. And it was I want to say like a round flash of light, and it was up in the clouds. So I just dismissed it as, well, it's probably lightning going off behind the clouds, and the way the clouds are shaped, I can't see the whole thing, but I never saw lightning last that long. Anyway, when I told another friend about this, they're like, that's strange you say that, because last night, and this is talking about the night of the hurricane, he looked up and he saw a white light, a blue light. He said a green light, instead of orange or a red light, something like that. But he gave me different colors of lights that he saw. And it's like, ooh, wow, maybe it's the fourth horseman. But no, so he saw these lights, and he told me about it, and I'm like, that's wild. I thought I was the only one that, dismissed, stuff, but I don't know. It's, I'm not saying that had anything to do with the government controlling this or that. It could be explainable. I'm not sure. I'm not going to jump on and say it is what other people would like it to be. But I mean, you talk about questions. Things make you ask questions, and you have to ask these questions, and you have to get answers. And when you don't get answers, what you get is people that are going to have to stand up and do research, like Donna, like all of you, and are doing, and come up with the answers yourselves. And isn't that a bitch that we live in a country where when we go to the leaders that we elect to give us the answers, they run and hide like little bitches.
Right.
So, or something happens and you don't hear from them, they don't do anything. They might as well be in protest. They might as well.
Melissa, mute your. Yeah.
You gotta mute Melissa.
One more thing.
She's cooking popcorn there or something. I don't know.
President Johnson said, and I saw the clip on it the other day, said, whoever controls the weather controls the world.
Yes, I've seen that clip too.
I did too.
It's been circulating.
And that was back in the 60s. Listen, ever since, this isn't something that just happened. This is something that we're waking up to. But when it happened back in the 40s, when you had World War II, and you had the Hitler, the Nazi ideology, satanic, you might as well say satanic ideology, right? That spiritual bullshit. Okay, so you've got that spreading across a country, and back then he was blatantly trying to take over the world, right? Well, okay, so they say we won the war, okay, which I think is bullshit anyway. But okay, so World War II stops, right? Okay, but the ideology never stopped. the war actually never stopped. The physical war stopped. The killing of each other and howitzers going off, that stopped. But the ideology kept going, especially when they moved all these people out of Germany and down to South America. And then where did they go from there? Exactly where they're sending the South Americans now, up here. You know, so they come up here, and now we have families being raised with ideologies that are of, you know, they've been doing it. This is a society, all right. You could call it a private society because, of course, I'm not gonna, if I have psychotic thoughts about what I want to do to the world, genocide and shit like that, you're not gonna sit there and tell everybody about it. You may tell, you know, the few that are already in it, but that's what's going on. This is shit that's carried over from World War II, and it's in our United States. And with Johnson saying that thing about if you can control the weather, you can control the world, that right there tells you they were working on that stuff back then. Well, I know that's why DARPA is DARPA. They've got scientists that are working on projects to further try to figure ways out on how to kill us.
Well, let's look at this a second here, a minute, Chris. And I'm going to go to this, and we'll go. I don't like it when they flash the screen like that, so we're going to go past this.
The U.S. military has been engaged in these operations since 1947, Project Cirrus. How far have they come since that point? So the cyclones are being kept weakened over water with manipulation of atmospheric pressure zones. And once they're near enough to the land-based network of frequency transmitters, the NexRad network, they are steered. And that steering is incredibly inarguable if we look at the animation of the frequency transmissions and their interaction with the storm, in this case, Hurricane Helene. We recorded that, and that video, if we can roll that now, the interaction is absolutely inarguable.
Yeah, this is what I was talking about.
Climate patterns, or was it manipulated? The circular blue flashes seen in this video are frequency transmissions from the NexRad network of transmitter installations. All available science evidence makes clear that atmospheric frequency transmissions can and do have a repelling effect on air masses, especially if and when the air masses have been seeded with electrically conductive nanoparticles. The brighter the blue flash from a frequency transmission installation, the more pronounced and powerful the repelling effect on any air mass or storm in the vicinity will be.
Okay, so I'm going to stop this, then I get a YouTube strike. Talking about this too with Ralph, he brings up some points on this that I think are really interesting, that they may have some of that right, but I've got a lot of questions on even this type of a presentation. I think that they are weather manipulating, but some of the stuff that's put out there on this, because I went to that geoengineeringwatch.org and looked at the stuff that they had there. In fact, let me bring that up a minute. Very interesting information, but I don't think they've got it all figured out.
That was my next response, was I don't think they have it all figured out either. But I do think that the systems that we have in place, as far as tracking our weather, show some of the inconsistencies that don't look similar to what an actual weather pattern would be.
Right. So there's a lot of information on here. It's interesting. And I think we should look at all things, because I'm not going to be in the crazy Republican, Democrat nonsense clubs of can't talk to these people because if you do, you're a bad guy nonsense. You know, we're going to look at all of it and find out what's real or not.
I think that's what anybody should do. If you have critical thinking skills, you should amass a large amount of information and then form an opinion based on facts. But that is not something that is done these days. People run with this stuff. I see them plant narratives all over the United States for GP at this point.
When you have a government that allows people to take over your own cities and your own country, I think it's a lot more than just they're here because they want their votes. That's bullshit. They're
Yeah, I
not.
agree with that.
That's not what they're here for.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Yep. Bill Clinton even said that a long time ago. I heard the interview. He said that he wanted to. What they wanted to do was repopulate the United States. Okay, so you want to repopulate the United States? Yeah, and the white people, us white people, this is Joe Biden. Us white people, we're going to be the minority, but it's a good thing, folks. You know, and so
we're already a minority. We're only 8% of the population of the world
right now. So,
but in the United States, we hold a large percentage.
We hold a large percentage here, but in the world,
nowhere else.
Scale, we're the definite minority. You know,
right.
You want to talk about being a minority? I went to India years ago, and the only Caucasian people I saw when I was in India was a guy that was completely and totally he was totally lit from California, a guy named Cliff that was just walking India and happened to run into him on the street, and then that was pretty much it.
It looks like as of 2020, we were 60.9% in the United States. 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So here's something interesting when I've been looking into everything that happened. Tennessee. So there's a lady on TikTok. Her name is Glamham.
Oh, yeah. I love her.
She put out flight details showing on the flight tracking radar deal that on September 9th, on the ridge of Appalachia, there in North Carolina and Tennessee, there was a flight that just kept going back and forth over the same area. That was NASA flight 426P3. Now I looked into that. NASA flight 426P3 had to be requested through the Science Operations Flight Request System, otherwise called SOFRS. Now, I looked at this the other day, September 2024 on their calendar. Interestingly enough, it looks like they've taken down, but they show where the NASA P3 Orion had been scheduled for that day, and there was also, it looked like some type of a modification to the aircraft before, for that specific mission.
Do you have a link to that, Melissa?
Yeah, I'll put it all together for you here. I mean, I'll send you the system, but I've been tracking that one down.
Put it in the private chat what you have, and I'll put it up.
Melissa, are you saying there was a modification to the aircraft, as in they were dropping the nanoparticles?
I don't know. See, I don't know how we would go about requesting like public information, for anybody that put a request in through that program.
Is NASA they're a private company, correct?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, it's not a private company you can put a FORA request in for, but most people move over to an LLC so that they can, circumvent any type of FORA information. Then it just becomes proprietary to their.
Yeah, I don't even know if I got the screenshot on this. I think I did when I was working on this, but as of today, I'm looking at it and they've taken down the request that was on there.
Karen said Asheville had record heavy rain for 3 days prior to the hurricane. I didn't know until recently. Dams broke and caused tidal waves. That's why it was so bad and they couldn't evacuate.
Exactly.
Actually, Duke Energy opened the dams.
Yeah, Duke opened the dams. They said they had to.
Yeah, and Duke is a BlackRock company.
Mm-hmm.
Surprise, surprise.
We in Cincinnati, I've said this before, we don't have storms that generally come up from the east. Normally our storms come down from the west, and my house just happens to sit on the jet stream where it goes like this out of Indianapolis and then up towards northeastern states. So that storm, the way that it stalled over Cincinnati, me and Melissa had several conversations. It was so unprecedented of a storm, and I can't even describe what this storm felt like, as far as just being in the middle of it. I swear I was going through some type of psychosis for days, for like 3 days. It was such a crazy experience. I've never experienced anything like that. It did remind me of a storm though that happened in the early 2000s. I believe it was Eric or something like that, where it knocked out 2.1 billion people in power. And that's the only other type of event that I've seen in this magnitude, because I've been in a hurricane before, several, because I'm from Florida. But the way that this one existed, it was just, I don't have words for it. But when I say being in the middle of something like that, it was just, and I wasn't even in a bad part of it, because North Carolina and Tennessee, they all, we see what they went through. Cincinnati, we had power outages and that sort of thing, but it literally stalled for like 7 hours and the trees were sideways. And I've seen, you see that in hurricanes, but you don't expect to see that in Cincinnati. Like if I wanted to be in a hurricane, I'd go back to Florida. So if you just take it on a basic cognitive level of weather history, you'd be able to deduct that there's something different about that storm.
Well, you want to know something? Well, so Chris, you can say hold my beer right now, because Chris was sitting right in Sarasota. Yeah. And I called Chris at night during the hurricane, and I'm like, we're going to stay on the phone here a little bit. And we sat there and joked and laughed while the hurricane was going. Every once in a while, he'd open the door and go outside, and I'm like, get inside. You are nuts, right? Oh, I got to see what's going on out there. Chris, somebody dropped you on your head. It was like, but you want to know what happened in Florida? Here's a new thing. The FEMA came in and decided that I want you to think about this. There's a lot of trailers in Florida. A lot of retired people live in trailers. FEMA went in and said, every single, get this, trailer park in Florida that the trailers took on any water has been totally condemned.
Oh.
And people have lost anywhere that there was water in the trailers. Nobody knows this. I know this specifically because I'm involved in one spot. Okay. And because we have a place on Anna Maria, and it's like every trailer park on Anna Maria, in Sarasota, in anywhere that there was flooding, they are totally condemned and are going to tear everything down. I have friends that texted me the other day that said, we just lost our entire life savings, because they consider them, a lot of them, second homes for people, even though quite honestly, I know one person that has that's their permanent residence. They lost everything. And FEMA came in and basically commandeered. I'm going to tell you, this is a land grab, because all of these trailer parks that have been there for many, many years, right on the bay or right here, there, for whatever, they wanted that land, and somebody's getting a payoff there. I can tell you that beyond a shadow of a doubt. I don't have the receipts, but I'm going to tell you, common sense tells me that somebody was paid off bigly in FEMA to condemn these trailer parks.
Well, Miss Donna, even the storm that went through Florida I've never seen a storm cut down the middle like that. I was like, what's happening here? Most of the storms, when they move up, especially on the East Coast, they continue to go this way. I've never seen a storm just go like turn completely almost 180 and just cut clear across the entire state of Florida. I could be wrong though. I've been wrong a lot. But I think my dad actually lives in a trailer in Tampa. I haven't spoken to him in years.
If they took on any water, so think about all the grandmas and grandpas that are down there, blah, 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 because a lot of people live in the trailer parks down there, are retired, because it's a cheap way to get a place to live down there, right? They lost, and I'm telling you, lost everything because FEMA came in and condemned anything that says trailer. I don't know how the hell they can go in there and condemn personal property of other people and basically say, oh, you don't exist anymore, because we just condemned everything.
It's the government. They can do whatever the fuck they want, and we're just supposed to sit down, shut up, and be quiet.
I personally, and I told my friends that they had all of the properties are gone. I mean, they're going to be gone. They're just going to roll up in there with a bulldozer at some point in time and bulldoze people's property, and it's gone. And I mean, it's not like they're going to be able to recoup anything there because the insurance companies are all broke. So they've lost literally everything, and nobody's talking about this. And all I can say is that I think that there needs to be some beast level lawsuits filed. But right now, in my opinion, FEMA is a domestic terrorist organization.
Yeah, look who it's run by.
Yep, I agree. One thing I've been doing is, realizing we've all been beating our head in the same wall the last few years. So I've taken a different route. I've started talking to the native tribes, because one thing that, I don't think that our government realizes is most of us in the United States that are multi-generation, we all have ties to that land, to Appalachia. And most of us have a tad bit of, native in us from the Eastern tribes. And so
Dude, if we were born in the United States of America, we're Native Americans. Yeah. Sorry, but that's the way it is.
Yeah. So I spoke to the Waccamaw chief, and they're working on their own stuff. She gave me some links because I told her, as the descendants of Appalachia, a lot of us, my platform has grown on TikTok up to over 10,000, 5,000 of those coming, since this tragedy. And she has sent me some information, some groups to contact to see if there's a way that we can, work with the native tribes on this, because frankly, they've been dealing with this for over a century. Now the Shawnee out of Oklahoma, I was speaking to one of their tribal attorneys. You can find him on X, Koba James Dean. Now, he's Shawnee out of Oklahoma, and I brought up one fact that we've talked about in the past, that I don't see that this government is the original government intended by our founding fathers, nor party to the treaties. And they were like, somebody's been doing their homework. That is a fact. This is a U.S. corporation, like we've been talking about in the Republic of Texas for a while now. Now, he said, go back, that we need to look at the Treaty of Greenville. And another thing that needs to be looked at is the Constitution of Absentee Shawnee Tribe of Indians of Oklahoma.
Say that last one again.
Can you guys get him on here and we'll interview him?
Yeah. The Constitution of Absentee Shawnee Tribes of Indians of Oklahoma. I'll send you all the links when I pull them up. Another point he made, I feel like I need to say without going into too much detail, is he said one thing we need to remember: ambiguity. He said when it comes to the legalities with the natives, that ambiguity in anything.
Froze up.
Someone don't want you talking about this.
That's right.
Hold on, Melissa, you're froze.
She'll be back. She'll unfreeze.
Somebody, not to get off that course, but somebody told me they had mentioned something about getting away from separating themselves from the government completely. What is it called? When
sovereign.
Well, yeah. When they recede, what's the word? Succeed from the government.
Succession.
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 Well, whatever the word is, to basically say, you know what, I'm not a part of you, you're not a part of me. But the thing with that is, if they own all the land and we're the tenants, then where would you go? Where would so the federal government's saying basically, like they did to the Indians, well, this is my land now, and so I'm going to give you your own land where you can go ahead and thrive and become your own whatever, and we'll just leave you alone. You do your thing. Well, that right there is kind kind of a fact that they are a corporation and that they own. Look, they're selling. They're selling not only our land, but our federal government is selling businesses,
resources, everything.
to foreign countries. They're
Yeah, foreign countries.
business that went bad, and they're dismantling it.
Yes. Well, and it should be offensive to everyone to see what happened with the government taking over any land from anyone, no matter what part of history that we're in. And right now, we should all be standing together, fighting for our very lives, because they're not just after the tribal people. They're after every single one of us. And the only way they keep us, that they can keep us in check, is to get us fighting with each other. But honestly, we have to look at each other. We're all kind of in the same boat right now. Here, let's watch this video that Melissa put up. Melissa, come back.
Can you kick her out?
Hang on a minute. See if I can get this thing to go. I can, yes. Let's see if I can kick her out and see if she comes back.
Kick her out.
I'm gonna kick her. I'm gonna kick her out.
Kick her out.
I
There.
just text her. There you go. She'll probably be able to come
Kick her
back.
out. She'll come back in. Okay, let's play this.
So I found the flight schedule for P3 Orion. Most of the flights were to Greenland, but there was one on September 9th, the only one that started and ended at the same airport. It makes a clear triangle, and I wondered what might be in the middle. Why would there be a science study happening on September 9th, perfectly surrounding Asheville?
Please do not
I'll
use
see
my
you in the
name.
comments. Take care.
That's interesting.
That's Glam Ham. She does ham radios and teaches all kinds of stuff.
Interesting.
She's
I gotta-
very
I gotta get on
informative.
I got to get on TikTok. That's what I need to do.
I'm working on it. I got some research that I've done that we was talking about before.
I've got a few things that I put on TikTok before, but I don't know. It just seems like there's a lot of information that's shared. They're just like X,
Is.
It's just a ton of information. I just need to be able to work that social media.
The difference between X and TikTok that you're going to find is a lot of breaking news starts on X and then it trickles down to TikTok. But as far as the information portion of it, I've been on TikTok for 5 years. Very censored. I'm very censored. I've lost multiple accounts. But once you learn how to speak in the way that is acceptable to TikTok, you can get pretty much any information on there. And I've learned that successfully. So there is last time I checked, 170 million Americans that share information on TikTok. It is a commie app though. And you see that across the board, but you're talking about, 300 plus million people paid monthly off of TikTok. So the money's there if you can, if you know how to do it. So I see Chris's eyebrows like, what happened to Melissa?
Yeah. She keeps trying to come back on, but she can't make it back on. So somebody is heavily censoring her.
Yeah.
Heavily. She shared a link on the Constitution PDF, and I can't get this thing to come up. So there's definitely something going on here.
She needs to restart her phone.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Melissa, can you hear us?
She's can't restart your phone, Melissa.
I'm gonna kick
whatever device you're on.
Yeah, we'll see. They're trying to silence her, But the whole big government picking us off one at a time and truly dividing us. It is a predator prey scenario. That's what a predator does. The predator doesn't go after the whole of the group. And if the whole of the group stands together, the predator doesn't have a chance. Right. What they'll do is they'll splinter the flock. And that's what's been happening so that they can pick us off one at a time. And I mean, you can see how many, thousands of splinter groups that they have out there. And then they'll go in and fund people who
like they're doing her right now.
Yeah. Now
Well,
Donna's frozen.
It went just for a minute. It actually froze on. I saw you take a glitch there for a second. So somebody doesn't want us to talk, but it's just like some of the groups that are behind, say, like the gay pride marches and all of this sort of thing, and the drag queens, that sort of thing. I believe in my heart of heart that they're political operatives paid to parade as a group, just like Black Lives Matter. I do not believe that this was an organic, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I don't believe this is an organic group of splintered off Americans. I believe they were paid protesters and paid political operatives. And that happens in every group. I think that there are people that are absolutely there's no way that there's no way that they could be that organized with their materials unless somebody was footing the bill. And I don't believe that it's all coming from George Soros. They're very convenient boogeyman. I think it goes way deeper than that, and he's probably part of it. But whatever they've got us looking at is where the lies began.
That is very true. But I don't think I agree with you that a lot of it were paid infiltrators. But I think that especially what we went through during COVID and, just the kids on the cell phones, I think that they used, neurolinguistic programming and like the mere exposure effects to get children to be comfortable with this, young teens to be comfortable with this. So I do agree that it was, someone was paid to start all that. They were way too organized, way too quick. But I think that there were probably, organic people that essentially joined that movement. But functionally, I think it did start out as some kind of paid provocateur.
I think so too. It's like, how do you get overnight? All of a sudden, you've got drag queen story hour going to all of our libraries. Are you kidding me? Or all of the porn books in the schools and such. Are you kidding me? Or these school boards going along with it. Someone is getting paid, and big because people will almost always. There's a point where people are willing to lie, and it comes for money or able to do, or will agree to do things that are immoral. Almost everyone will bite at something anymore because there's not a standard, and the standard, it has to go back to what you're willing to do. God's watching. The standard is a standard set by God Almighty, the creator of heaven and earth. There's one standard, and unless we subscribe to that standard, it's just like a free-for-all.
That's what we're seeing right now, is a free-for-all. That's what happens when you take God out of your country.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. If you look at January 6th, what you're saying is very true, because if you look at it's very organized, and it was organized a long time ago, and all the uniforms were bought, all the hats were bought, all the backpacks were bought, right?
And they were color coordinated.
And yeah, people set up just like they coordinated the drop boxes. Okay, so you're looking at BLM, Antifa, all of these come from the same place. And you look at January 6th, you look at the one group of people on the lawn that are going toward the Capitol, you have about, I don't know how many, but it looked like about 100 people on the center of the screen that had their red hats like they were just purchased, turned backwards, all red shirts, all tan pants. They all looked uniformed, okay? Versus the other people that came up to go up to the Capitol, they were wearing different clothes, but they may have had a red shirt on, but and some did and some didn't. That's the norm. That's but you go to the left and you look at the way that little army of people were dressed exactly the same as Trump, to give you the idea that these are all Trump patrons. That's bullshit. It was infiltrated. It was planned, just like the BLM, just like the Hamas sit-in at the Capitol. They all had perfect Hamas uniforms, and everything was, just, this is a very large thing that's in our country that needs to be dissected, and it needs to be dissected by us, because our government's not going to do it. We can sit and talk and research and just have a grand old day talking to one another about how bad it is, and we need to sue somebody. But I'm going to tell you something: suing people, suing this guy over here and suing that guy over there, I mean, that's a great start, but it will not stand up to what groups are going on right now. This is something that we need to take action and be like them in a sense. We have to get better organized. We have to get stick together, like you had said, and we need to form our own militia, so to speak, to combat these areas when they come into our state, our city, what have you. In Venezuelans, for example, in Chicago, in Ohio, God knows what, Colorado. Okay, so what do you see happening about it? Nobody is organized. Nobody is standing up going, bullshit, you're not kicking her out of this apartment. Boom, boom. These people need to go down. This is invasion. This is the enemy. This is an enemy of the state. This is a continuation of the treason that they committed in 2020.
I got to show you this. Okay, my friend Jonathan Cagle here. I love Jonathan, and we are friends. I love this guy. Reminder, the people who are the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under the law are being placed at election sites all over the country. And this goes on. This goes on and on and on. If you follow Jonathan, I love Jonathan Cagle. I've had him on my show many times. And this is ADL and CARE partners in the Combating Hate Coalition. ADL is Mossad and CARE funds Hamas. Both are separately partnered with ACLU. ADL and ACLU are American Iron Front and Antifa and RAND Corporation, and it's all connected. And Jonathan, of course, like he always does, has got this totally knocked apart here on how all of these subversive organizations are not only going after us socially, but also our elections. It's one big happy family of traitors that all need to have their bad selves permanently removed.
The Postal Service, for example, is part of that. And you take the general, Postmaster General, he has no business being in the executive part of our government. And so that right there is a direct link to the president and to the post office, to the post office services. Okay, so I've got three different people that came to me. I'll call them whistleblowers. I don't know what they are. They're not really whistleblowers, but they came to me and they said that the higher ups in the post office are telling the postal carriers that what they need to do when they get a mail-in ballot is do not deliver it. Get them all together and bring them back to your postal. I forget what is the postal.
The post office.
In the post office, the whoever the whatever you call the manager there, the postmaster. Yeah, master. Yeah, wow. Yeah. So this is in 3 different states. Okay, that this is going on. They want all the ballots to come back to the post office and to the postmaster. So it's either that they're trying to cover something up, or they're trying to stop the vote, because they know that the majority of those ballots are going to be Trump ballots.
So let me make sure I understand this correctly. Someone is actively telling post office deliverer people, like the people that carry it, to collect mail-in ballots, meaning not deliver the mail to the house that it is intended for.
Correct.
And to collect these ballots and bring them back to the postmaster.
Correct. Hand them over to the, correct.
Well, that's interesting, considering Michigan has got, I believe, 600,000 more registered voters than they have people eligible to be registered voters in the state of Michigan. And the Secretary of State criminal, Jocelyn the criminal Benson, said they will remove them after the election.
Okay, so what they may be doing is offsetting the election with the bad or the unregistered, right? And that maybe that's why they're taking those mail-in ballots. Let's pretend, all right, I got my 600,000 more than the state has. I've already got that the votes out there, and they voted. So now I got to collect all these ballots that are going out, because it's going to make us look really, really bad if we get to 1 million. You know, we can't cause an eyesore. You know, so it could be part of the cover up or part of what they're doing. Yeah, I could see that.
Well, how in the world can we have an actual election and be taken seriously or professionally in the state of Michigan if we have 600,000 more registered voters than we have eligible voters in Michigan? It's like that's almost 1/10 of we have 11 million people in Michigan. Now, if you get rid of the kids that can't vote and that sort of thing, you really are almost at 10%.
Well,
of an error margin. I mean, crazy.
We're focusing on that, but you also have to remember, Donald Trump gave a cease and desist order to everyone in the United States about cheating at the elections. And he said, if you are in any way a part of that, it will be dealt with. This is your cease and desist order. In other words, he gave the warning. We have a Starlink. I'm not going to go into anything else, but we have satellites up there that, and maybe this is why the left hates Elon Musk. But you know what? The CIA can take pictures of us every single day from a satellite. Well, guess what? Starlink can too.
Right.
And so
I think Elon Musk is.
I will say this. They can, and they still, instead of ceasing and desisting, they still go ahead and do what they do. That's the intelligence we're dealing with. Stupid. Evil is stupid. They'll still carry out the shit right in front of your face, but it will be dealt with.
Well, and the good thing is that I really truly believe that God is totally in control. When he takes down evil, it is a decisive takedown. He doesn't mess around.
Right.
It's like look back at Sodom and Gomorrah. Gone. We're done. We're done with this nonsense. And look at. I think it's coming again. I really do. And people are going to have to choose who they serve and how they're serving, and make some really important choices, because the individual choice to follow the law or to just say, oh, it doesn't really matter, I can just do this a little bit. No, you can't. There's a dividing line there. If you cross over that dividing line of something that's kind of can get away with it, you've got a crisis going on an individual level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, while we're talking about Elon and the election, so you guys obviously are aware with what James O'Keefe was doing with Act Blue. Well, I went to a conference. Well, there's a gentleman. His name is Sean. He's a Tennessee officer. You guys remember when they raided the police department and they took all?
Sean is a friend of mine.
Yeah. Okay.
So I know
What's his
Sean.
last name?
Taylor.
That's right. Okay. So the information that he gathered, which I was quite astonished on how they are bringing this money, especially foreign money, into our election system, and how they were going about getting more money. They were purchase. It had to do with home loans. Like they would get a loan, then on the same day someone else would buy this, and it's so crazy on how it broke down. But Ken Paxton is now, from what I understand, opening up an investigation against Act Blue for foreign money coming into Act Blue. I'm gonna put some videos out today. I'll send them to you, Miss Donna, because I finally went through all that footage from that conference in Chattanooga. But when I can't explain it adequately, you would have to see how he describes the multiple transfers of deeds of these houses between the CEO and then her husband. When you don't have a criminal mindset to think that way, like you would have never thought of that. But the Democratic Party is like, especially with them using like smurfing, where there are they're putting in low increment donations with similar names or just spelled a little bit differently and similar addresses. Well, when he broke it all down, you can clearly see where there is manipulation there, and that money goes to the Democratic Party. And then he talked about how there was a GoFundMe that was created. I think it was like $55,000. So that is how the Democratic Party is funneling all this money. And so right now Kamala Harris is outspending Donald Trump significantly, but that doesn't seem to matter because what Donald Trump has that Kamala has less of is American patriots that will speak the truth.
Here's something we got to be, I think, really careful of, is that saying it's the Democrat Party, because the Republican Party is just as bad. Tudor Dixon,
That's true.
It was the governor candidate, which is one of the reasons why I would not step down, is because her family was a globalist family of information brokers. And if you really do a search into her background, they weren't selling what they said they were. They were information brokering, and it was global information brokering, because that's where the real money is. She got a ton of $5 donations from Arizona. And so when you look at her conceding, which is what the smurfing was all about. So this is not isolated to one political party or the other. They're all playing ball. If they're in a position of power, they are all playing ball together under the guise of being on two separate teams, but they're not. They're on the same team, and they're all doing the same thing. But if they can keep us looking at one team or the other, we're missing the fact that they're all playing ball together. That is one of the reasons why I would not concede. Tudor Dixon conceded before the votes were even counted, and in Michigan. And there was so much nonsense going on. It's like, I will not concede to liars, cheats, and thieves, and for any reason whatsoever. And that's exactly what was going on here in the state of Michigan. The whole thing was rigged.
Why would someone from another state contribute to a state race? Like you said, Arizona. Why is someone in Arizona, or a large amount of people, contributing to a Michigan race?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the reasons is because she was the DeVos candidate. The elections in Michigan are completely bought and paid for by about 22 oligarch families. You can look it up. It's pretty easy to find them. And that's where the big money goes through. And if you really want to know the truth, I think you should start looking into the Dutch banking families and the connections to the East India trading, the Dutch India trading companies. It was all goes back to the Netherlands in that little tentacle offshoot. And so when you start looking at this, it's a globalist, it's Zionist, it's Zionism. And look at their tactics. You know, they'll go from commandeering all of the religions, which is what I've been trying to say, is that, you know, sometimes I don't get to the point. I should just need to lay it right out there. The Jews, the Muslims, the Christians, they've all been commandeered by a Zionist organization. That's not meaning that it's a Jewish organization. It's a globalist organization of taking over, and they're all part of it. And so you can see the players involved in it, but you rarely get to the top level of who's really pulling the strings. And who's really pulling the strings is going to really surprise you. It's not Soros. It's not Gates. It's not Schwab. They're part of it. But if you're seeing them, you aren't seeing who's really involved. Right. They're only letting you see what they want you to see. And the rest of them walk right in front of you, under your nose, and you won't recognize it unless you really get in there and see what's going on. But when you see things that go into a globalist market, globalist economic market, that sort of thing, who's involved in this, who's tied in with this, who has the majority shares of in the corporations, and then where does this lead you back? There's another level there, and I would give out a few names, but people won't believe me anyway. But you look it up. Look up the families.
Go ahead, I'll believe you.
I believe you.
Look at the Orsinis. Look at the Orsinis. Look at the Pavloncinis. Look at the ones that are tied into Belgium, and the Castle of the Dark Mother and that sort of thing. Look at those people.
That's weird. You just said that Castle of the Dark Mother. I just heard that phrase a couple days ago.
Yeah. Look at all of this. Look at what happened when Kate Spade, there was 3 people that were killed in one day by a red necktie around their freaking neck from a doorknob. Who gets hung from a doorknob? No one ever. Okay. The sister of the Queen of the Netherlands was part of that little group that got offed, but Kate Spade was part of it because she was going to rat out Haiti. And then they made her boyfriend walk around New York City in a rat's mask for a couple of days.
Humiliation
rituals. There's all kinds of stuff like that going on. Some of us know. A lot of us know the truth. A lot of us out there have dug for years and know the truth on this, but you'll never see them. Watch Rothschild kissing the ring of Papa Pallavicini. And all of them are on a leash to the higher power that's got all of them captive. Well, you know what? If you stand in the name of Jesus Christ, the Lord of everything, in front of them, they can't touch you. And if they do, they're going to open up a can of whoop ass for touching a child of the true God Almighty. That is never going to end. They won't. They can't. They have no place here. We reject them, and that's the way it is. No fear.
So on that note, this keeps bringing up a lot of things that this tribal prosecutor has said. I just made a post on TikTok with a screen record of this litigation that Hawaii just recently filed against our government. I don't know if you've seen that yet. So Hawaii filed litigation on the 15th of this month. And this is against an entire list of people. I think I sent the link. If I did it, let me know. This goes against Biden, the entire administration, Anthony Blinken, the military, FEMA, John Doe, Jane Doe's. This even has Project Veritas on it. And so basically
Project Veritas.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe that's just something to pull them in because they have proof, you know what I mean? So
I know what they have.
Yeah, so they put them on it too. And so basically this says this is jurisdiction is invoked pursuant to Title 28 USC sections 1330, 1331, and so on. Basically, it says that plaintiffs would request this court in Texas for this case out of Hawaii, take jurisdiction pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 1111, murder, 18 U.S.C. Code 2381, treason, 18 U.S.C. Code 2382, 83, 84, and 86. They also made a note on here that plaintiffs do not view this defendant as President of the United States as the election was rigged, placing him in office. Plaintiffs do not view this defendant as Vice President of the United States as the election was rigged, placing her in office. So I just found this yesterday.
Oh, look, and they're going to cut her out right now because they don't want her to talk. Once again, Melissa's voice got silenced here because they don't want her to talk because she's over the target on this.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Every time she starts talking about something.
Yep, they take it down. We may have to do it on the phone here. But the point being here, I'm just going to call her. Screw this. We're done with this. I'm like totally done with this right now. Hang on. We're gonna get her back up here just a minute. That's all right. We get them figured out. They're not real bright. They try to take our voices away. Too bad, so sad. You guys are amateurs.
Amateurs.
Amateur CIA, amateur Mossad, amateur whatever you are out there. Okay, you know what? Oh, they just cut her phone. This is funny. Okay, amateurs, let's see what you can do with this. I got a phone there. All right. I'm gonna see if they take you down by phone. Screw them.
Oh, she's trying to connect. There she is.
Every time I bring up something significant, I get knocked off.
Phone now, so you can talk by phone if you want. We'll just say forget it. These amateurs, they think that they're gonna discourage us. No, it's just like pouring jet fuel on the ornery of life.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, this post that was on X with this case yesterday came up, and it took me 30 minutes to find this again on X because the post that I reposted was taken down.
Oh, that's interesting. Well, guess what, boys and girls? We're going to do this a better way right now because, and they knocked her out again. Look at her phone got knocked out. Ha.
I've been kicked off of X. I'm kicked off again of X.
You're kicked off X?
I didn't think you could get kicked off of X.
Oh, yeah. You can get. Jonathan Cagle got kicked off of X. That's one of the reasons why I like him. There's that Constitution. I just put it on.
You put it in the chat?
I put it in my Telegram channel.
Okay.
So it's right there in case somebody. Oh, let's see if we can back. Man, they want you gone.
Listen, Melissa, she don't fuck around.
You've never had this many issues on your show.
I know. You've never had this kind of issue, and every time you speak, they're taking you down. That's okay. We're just gonna keep you putting you up. And the greatest thing is every time they attack me, we just put up more nodes out there. It's going to be like playing whack-a-mole. We got 2 of them now on Tor on the dark web, and we actually know how to set them up. So keep it going. We'll have 100,000 of Melissas and Christina and Chris and Donna's out there. We're just going to put this everywhere. It's going to be whack-a-mole. It's going to be glorious.
Right. You know? They won't know who's who.
So Donna, I tagged you. I put a screen record. I think I got cut off. I put a screen record of a few pages on that litigation, and I tagged
where is it?
Federal tribal prosecutor on X. I tagged you and Christina in it as well, so you can connect with him and maybe we can get him on the show. Yeah,
that'd be great because you know what? It's like I'm really done with the divisions. We have to be talking to everyone. You know, it's like I've got a group of Arab Americans that I'm meeting with. I love them. Serbians. I love the Serbians. I'm going to a Serbian meeting this weekend. And Rick Grinnell was at my barn this weekend, and that's the Log Cabin organization. And the Chaldeans, I've been to a couple of Chaldean events, and I'm going to tell you what, all of us are so similar in what we want for our families and the order of things. It's incredible. And they keep us fighting. Why? We are so similar. It's an engineered perception of us being different. We're the same. We're children of God. We're the same. It's amazing. I'm so done with this whole thing. And the same thing with, the Native Americans. Nobody's against them except the government. They've peeled them off and stuck them in little controllable camps and cut them off from, this is nuts. I have a very, very good friend, Marissa, who's part of the tribe in Michigan here, and her grandmother, Marion. And they're all like, they reject this whole Native American thing. She's actually looked right at me. She said, "You're a Native American. If you're born here, you're a Native American, and we need to stand together." And I'm like, I agree with you 100%. This is nonsense.
Well, I keep saying till I'm blue in the face that the people are expecting like some mass amount of change, but that won't happen until the people realize that we hold the power. We are the one, the government does not hold the power over us. We hold the power over ourselves. That is a God-given right and given to us based on our Constitution. So we have to get away from thinking that the government controls us. We control ourselves. Until the people stand up and say no more, we'll continue to go through this. And I get into arguments with people on TikTok. Like, you guys sit here and you'll argue on TikTok for hours upon hours, but there is no solution that you're creating and you're getting nowhere. Arguing about whether or not Donald Trump should be responsible for the letter for the Central Park 5, or arguing about whether Kamala Harris is black or an Indian doesn't do shit for us. It gets us nowhere. And the longer it takes the people to realize that, the more like suffrage and what's that word? Calamity. Yeah, the more of that we will go through. But luckily, there are a lot of people standing up. I get a lot of people on my TikTok. I've got hundreds of emails with them saying, "How can I help? What can we do? Show us what to do." And right now, me and Melissa, she's starting to look into how to write the legislation, how to get to talk to the people that we need to talk to, because she's right. The left has one thing on us. They're up there in these, in where these legislators reside, and they're up there talking to them, and they're creating legislation, and we're just sitting over here bitching on TikTok.
Right. And it's really a crazy thing, because they got us fighting with each other. My Serbian friends have now made me an honorary Serb, and which is kind of funny. And it's like we love people everywhere. It's like we love the people that are Jewish around us. I've got David, Dr. Kent, that's on Friday. He's Jewish. I went to his wedding. We love the people. We love the Chinese people. We are against the establishment government, the globalists, who have basically pissed on all of us and kept us fighting. That's the enemy of the people. And it's like we love our we'll say Native Americans that have been here for generations. My family's been here for generations and such. It's like, but we all came from somewhere, and where we all came from. What's real funny? People ask me what my nationality is. I always say, just because I am a bit of a smart ass, it's like, well, I'm Noabek.
Right.
So it's like, let's go back to the flood. Then we're done. If we just all claim being Noabek, we're done with this nonsense.
So Donna, the Serbs that you're talking to, that's actually, I'm with them too, in essence. Now, the Serbians for Trump have moved into the Christian Orthodox coalition. So they're actually the founders of this, and I think we spoke about that a while back.
I love them. Samir was at my barn this weekend, and I love Samir, and they're peacemakers. And I think the same thing with the Albanians that I know. They're peacemakers, because all of these people have gone through different types of horrific attack and genocide by communists in their countries. They've all experienced this. They know what they're talking about. We have been a little bit protected here, or we just haven't recognized that they have literally killed and murdered the people of every country across this world. Somebody's been in there stirring the pot and killing people. And it's like, they have the right to claim that. And because they were there, we were not. And to tell them,
what you're talking about, what proves God is what you said. because I too have been all over, and everyone has the same wants that we do. We just want to be left alone. We want to raise our families. We want to love our children. We want to bring them up right. We want to feed whoever needs to be fed. We're all, that proves we're all children of God. That is our first instinct. It's the second part, the causing of wars, the causing of separation, the causing of segregation, causing of hoods, the causing of drugs. All these things come after that are put into what you had said about we love everybody, the Chinese, the Serbians, the Albanians, the whatever. Okay, so that's the foundation that God set out to begin with. It's all this other bullshit that's coming in that is of the evil, is of Satan, trying to break that up. You know why? Because he knows that the time is coming very soon when he is going to be going to Israel, when there's going to be that Christ, there is going to be that invasion of Israel. Well, guess what? Someone else is coming back too. And it's the one that put us here. And boy,
I don't think he's going to be in negotiating mood with evil at that point in time. I think at that point, when he comes back, it's going to be like everybody out of the pool.
Yeah.
And, it's like,
and you know what? We're not even of the pool.
Right.
We might be in the pool, but we're not of the pool.
Yeah, it's everybody get out of the pool here. And, you're either going to be in permanent timeout.
Yeah. Go to the corner.
Yeah, or and it's going to be a hot, miserable place there,
right?
And or you get to stay with family who cares about each other. The question is, and that's the defining point right there. It's like, do you care about the people around you more than your own selfish greed and or selfishness or self-pursuits or whatever? Are you using what God gave you to manage? It's never ours. It's always his sandbox. He owns everything. He just gives us stuff to manage. Are you using that to lord over people or be like better than them? Or are you actually trying to help? And I mean, that's another thing. And also people who look at other people have something. If you're trying to just take them down because you want their shit, shame on you.
Envy.
It's like, it's envy, it's covetousness, it's greed, and it's theft in a lot of ways. And it's like, you can make your own. Everybody can. I mean, it's not that hard. If a dummy like me that can come from digging in a manure pile for worms when I was in high school, that's what I did. I had to figure out how to make money because we were just absolutely broke, right? So I would do anything that was ethical and legal. But one of the things I did was figured out how to dig in the manure pile to find worms, because there's lots of worms in manure. And I sold them. I'd dig them out and bring them to a bait shop and sell them. Oh yeah, that's white privilege. Just letting everybody know.
Listen, my whiteness has never given me any privilege in my life. I still, because of my past, I never got the luxury just to be pulled over like, Miss Holbrook, can I see your identification? That was never it. It's Miss Holbrook, can you put your hands outside of the car and walk backwards? So my white privilege never got me anything. I've always been poor but happy. So that I get thrown off with the whole white privilege thing because I came from nothing, and the stability that I have is my reward. So I don't get down with white privilege. So
you know what my reward is? My reward has been getting to know all you guys who are just absolutely amazing and wonderful patriots. If you're here watching this show, you're probably just a true patriot, because nobody would put up with us. That is a crazy Marxist, because we're telling them to screw themselves all the time and get the hell out of our way, because the adults are going to handle this, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Anybody
Let the adults handle it.
What's that?
Let the adults handle it.
Let the adults handle this, children. If you're going to sit there and throw your little snowflake soy boy temper tantrum, that ain't cutting crap with an actual adult mom and dad. It's going to be, all right, I would have, when my kids got in trouble when I was really creative with my kids. I was totally creative because I believe that small children are mini terrorists. They spend go through the threes. Okay. They're spending full time because they've got full time to screw with you at that point in time. And so you got to like use anti-terrorist tactics with a child, right? So that's what I would do. Okay. It's like, guess what? You're on cat box duty now for a week. And until you get this figured out. Oh yeah. There's, I had my two of my boys shared a room and they were fighting over a Matchbox toy. And I'm like a zero tolerance for bullshit kind of person. And as a mom, I really was. I walk in there and watch them fighting over this Matchbox toy, and I just looked at one and I looked at the other one and I gave them a running start because they usually knew that it was like if I started counting and I would go 1, I got their attention. 2, we're in deep trouble. Most of the time I never made it to 3, which was total annihilation of the world, right? So I just looked at them and I was like, I didn't even say a word. I looked at one, I looked at the other one, hand over the toy. I literally put it on the ground and smashed it into 100 pieces with my foot. I said, now you got nothing to fight about, do you?
I was the same way. I always gave them choices.
Yeah, a $15 Matchbox toy was worth a lesson that I couldn't have bought for $1 million. Right. Never fought again.
Kids these days, they don't have that either. Parents are so focused on gentle parenting. Well, we see what gentle parenting gets us. Like when you're trying to negotiate with a terrorist, it doesn't go very far. But I never wanted any kids, but I ended up with 4 daughters. And unfortunately, I went through active addiction later on in their life. So that taught me, but luckily I was with them until they were about 7 and I never left their life. So they learned a lot from me, but they didn't live with me for a few years. But right now, and I talk to my kids about that a lot. And I have amazing daughters. Like I have 4 amazing daughters. You're talking about master's degrees, just really well-rounded children. And, we got to the conversation where I don't know if you'd be as good as you are today if you didn't go through what you went through in your life. But early on, I was very strict. Education was big for me, because the same thing, knowledge is power. So they'd be in like the 1st grade and they'd come home and they'd have, check marks on things they did wrong. And we would sit down and they would cry about fixing it. But, I have very educated children now. So I try not to discount any of my life experiences because luckily it's made me who I am today. And it has made my children just some incredibly resilient and smart women. My middle daughter, I gave her an apartment at 17 and a half because she was, bought a car, paid it off within 9 months, got a full ride scholarship. But nowadays the kids expect everything. And I have a real problem with expectations. Like if you expect me to do something for you, then you better give me a reason as to why you either deserve that or need that to the core. I never was like the play around mom, like, okay, well, you did this and I'm just going to pretend like it ain't fucking happening so that you can be hooking on the street at, 18. I never had that.
Well, I tell you what, and I think that strong parenting needs to come back again without threat by the commies that are telling you, if you don't pander and make these kids into little spoiled little snots, that expect. We wonder why we've got such an entitlement-minded society. Well, it comes back from the threat on the parents and lazy parenting, in my opinion. Not all parents are lazy, but if you've got a kid that's going to run to the school and say, my mom and dad are doing this, that, and the other thing. I remember one of my kids deciding she thought it was a good idea, which lasted about 5 minutes, to say, well, I'm going to walk out the door and do something. I said, that's great. But let me tell you what, you go out that door, and they knew when I said something, I meant it. I didn't change too quickly. I said, good luck with that. I said, you will never walk in this house again because I will not be manipulated by you or anyone else. And that was one of my kids. And it's like, it's like, so we've got a few people out there that think that they're, going to be they're going to be subversive and abusive to Donna Brandenburg, and then come crawling back and want to have a second swipe at me. Not a chance. You just broke trust with me. And I think there's somebody out there listening that probably knows I'm talking to that person. And it's like, you know what? You take a swipe at me. Good luck with that, because that door probably will not come open again. Because when I see somebody that's a subversive little shit, that time of the sun, I won't deal with it. I won't get dragged into drama. I will not play ball with them, because it's like, somebody that lies will typically lie again.
That's everyone. They'll lie to everyone.
It's like, it's a core personality flaw. Somebody who is constantly dragging other people into their little drama or pitting them against each other, they will always do that. They are a subversive personality, and it's unlikely that they are rehabilitatable from that. It's an addiction. It's an addictive personality to hurt, divide other people for their own gain. And when you watch it, they will almost always do it. There's always a gain that they have involved in this, to go after people and do it. And if you do it behind other people's backs and they finally find out about it, it probably doesn't end well. It certainly doesn't end well with Donna Brandenburg, because once I see that I've got that person pegged in a very much a profiling way as a piece of shit.
There's a lot of them too.
There is. And it's like, I won't give him a second chance.
I used to be really forgiving. And I still am a forgiving person.
I'll forgive them, but I ain't going to play ball with them again, because they're going to do it again.
We ain't being friends no more. Like, no, I have a lot, I've had a few experiences in my life, because I am such a giving person, where people thought that it'd be appropriate to use me. So, well, that didn't turn out well,
does it?
No, it doesn't. Because eventually, if you continue on that way, where people are continuously using you, it becomes a character defect of your own. And you got to take a look at that.
That's exactly right. And I think that's something, and this is Mom here. It was really funny. I was talking to Mike Flynn Jr., which I'm going to give him some.
I like that guy.
I'm going to give them a little bit of something else to go after Donna on Unshackle the Mitten, which they just did a post on me. Oh no, she's a friend of General Flynn and he endorsed her. Yes, I am. And I'm so glad that you gave me the extra advertisement for being a friend of General Michael Flynn. Okay. I'm a friend of his. I love Mike. I love Mike a lot. I love Lori. I love Mary. I love them. And if you don't know what they're actually doing, I can't help how stupid you are. Okay.
Part.
So, what's that? No matter what room we're in, that guy is the smartest guy in the room.
Yes.
He knows what he's doing. He's had spook. And he knows what he's doing, and he's smarter than you. He's smarter than me. He's smarter than anybody in the room, and I concede to that. All right.
He's an amazing guy.
Yeah. So I was talking to Mike Jr. I said, you guys got caught off early there. You went to court. I'm like, God appointed me as mom to the whole damn planet, because it's like I look at everybody as my kids, right? And I really do. I see everybody as I would care for my children, and whether they're doing something right or wrong, I'm not gonna give somebody a line that if I disagree with them, that's what somebody who's manipulative is. What a mom would do is tell you what you need to hear for your own safety. You may not want to hear it, but a real mom or parent will tell you what you need to hear to keep you safe in this world, because this world is loaded with pitfalls and evil stuff. Doesn't mean that they're always right. No, not always. But the point being is that if somebody cares enough to tell you something, even if it's something you don't want to hear, I'm more likely to listen to that person than somebody that's going, oh, you're great, you're wonderful, flattery. Right. Choke on it. I hate flattery. Don't do it. It's a bad thing. I'll never trust you again. But if somebody actually says something that is of true concern, of saying, man, I'm really concerned about you for this, or I'm seeing this, and I love that. That's somebody who truly loves you and a true friend. So
yeah, I call it like, when people do that to me, I tell them don't inflate my ego anymore. It's inflated enough. I don't like yes people. I got a real problem with yes people.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't look me in my eye and tell me, like, well, this part is wrong, I don't need people-pleasing behaviors in my life.
Right.
It
It's
doesn't
a
get
waste
you
of
anywhere.
time.
It creates falsehoods in your identity and your opinions going forward. Like, I don't know when the world moved away from being bluntly honest, but they did a real disservice to us, for sure.
Right. And you don't have to be an ass about it either. I mean, you can see somebody that's struggling and make it something that is not just to injure them or get back at them or make the problem worse. It's more like, it's, you know, if you look at everybody, if you're a mom or a dad, if you look at everybody like you would your children and treat everybody on the planet like you would want your children treated. And, you know, so like if you see somebody, like if I see Chris doing something, I would talk to Chris like I would one of my kids. And I have.
And I cry. I stamp my feet. And I yell back at her, but you know, when she starts pointing her finger and starts that counting shit, I'm telling you what, I'm out of that room.
I've never counted for Chris, just so you know. Only micro terrorists, which were my children when they were about 3.
Micro terrorists.
That's why I sent that drone over your house.
Yeah, did you guys hear that? We actually had a Predator drone that went over the house the other day.
Oh wow!
It was off the radar too, because I watched the aircraft and I stalk air traffic, and it wasn't on. It wasn't sending any info, but it was a Predator drone, and it was pretty low and such. And so I was, you know, it was like there were 2 people that saw it, and it was spooking around and such. So they don't make the same sound and such. But the point being is that, they're there, they're watching. I think that to your point, Chris, they're watching the elections. They're watching how people how their behavior is. I'm watching to see who actually votes outside of what's constitutionally allowable because they were told on election day, or if they vote early. I will not be told to vote early because that is an unconstitutional action or being told. I don't care what our unlawful laws say that you can do. It's what should you do.
Well, I think that voting early gets us into a situation where come election day, they already know who has voted. So
and they
already know what they need come election day.
Right. So. And not only that, but if you fall for that, then the next thing will be whatever their formula for cheating is. You know what I mean? It's like it's like sucking you in slowly for each little venue up there, like the drop boxes. The drop boxes will be legal then next, you know. And
yeah, how much are you willing to do? How much manipulation are you going to tolerate? And I think this is almost a tolerance test for manipulation. Are you going to think this through and follow it just because somebody tells you to do it? Or are you going to say, no matter what, no matter if anybody tells me to do something, I'm going to think for myself. If I'm the only one that thinks for myself, I'm going to do that. And everybody out there has the right to do that. And be an individual who thinks for themselves and is not just a you know, a lemming that's ready to jump off the cliff because somebody told you to do something. I don't care who it is.
Right. It's like you gotta jump off what that phrase my mom always used when I said, well, so and so did it. Well, if so and so jumps off that bridge, are you gonna jump off that bridge too? But I think a lot of people, they just don't understand. Like, a lot of people don't know that early voting is not constitutional.
It's illegal.
Yeah, especially when you have parties that are telling you, you know, vote early. So it really becomes just the general public isn't aware of what the Constitution is these days, and it's crazy. I mean, the Constitution is written for someone with an 8th grade reading level. So while we do have a large amount of literacy in the United States, or illiteracy, the Constitution is very easy to read. Just read it. You don't know you got these rights if you don't know that you can use these rights, or even that you have them if you're not aware of them.
And like John Tater says, He says, anything you do or anything they do that's unconstitutional is repugnant to the Constitution. Therefore, it does not exist. Well, that goes for your votes too. Because if you're voting unconstitutionally, it's repugnant to the Constitution. Therefore, your votes don't count.
Well, and the other thing is too, is that if you do something like break the law and because somebody told you to do it, and you can't just say, well, he told me to do that. Isn't that what happened in the Garden of Eden? I think we got a problem there, right?
Yeah.
You got to be able to make that choice. And so it's like, if they tell you to do it and you just follow it instead of saying, well, wait a minute, I'm going to check into this a little bit, see it. But you can't blame somebody after the fact. Well, somebody told me to do it. Well,
ignorance and incompetence.
if you want to be
is
a
not
child,
real
then
defense.
if you want to be a child, then you're gonna be a child and be treated like a child by these criminals, because they're just going to tell you what to do. And that's not. And here's another thing: if it negates the vote and all the absentee ballots that are out there, if it's unconstitutional and they don't at all count at some point in time, but it does if you went to the polls and it's honest. Here's another question: should those people, because they didn't follow the law, have their citizenship revoked?
That's
Because
a very tough question right there.
I'll throw a bunch of them out there, because
Yeah.
I think that, it's
Tough
like,
questions.
where do you draw the line?
Right.
Where do you draw the line? Do you break the law a little bit and let it go? I mean, some of it, it's a good question to have. Now, I'm not advocating that, but it is like one of those questions that I think we should throw them all out there.
Well, there you go, right there, because now you're getting into, is it okay for politicians to cheat?
Just a little bit, because they say everybody does
Just
it.
a little.
Yeah, just a little, it's not really breaking the law. It's just cheating.
Well, what I know about criminals is it's never just a little, okay? It may start out as just a little, but then it becomes just a lot.
Just a lot, right?
That's like getting fluffy, right? I'm always fighting the fluffy. And I always say I fight the fluffy, because it's like you put on 1 pound, another one's going to come and attach itself to it, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be 61 years old, you're fighting the fluffy. I hate to tell you that. Every one of us who's over 60 is fighting the fluffy.
So I was about 40.
Wait till you're 60.
Hey,
what's that?
Fluffy down here in Florida.
Yeah, got to fight the fluffy. I always tell people, it's like when you're going up, and I'm gonna. You guys will laugh at this, okay? Because I know you guys are old enough to think this is funny. When you go up a set of stairs and your fat takes on a life of its own, you're fighting the fluffy. Just put that into a visual reference there.
I think I'm good.
Let's get on.
I was pretty heavy earlier in my life, so I can understand that concept right there. Very
That could take on a whole new.
That's a whole new thing when you have a flavalanche going on.
Right.
Oh.
You need to get that. You need to get it shaking and moving, so with that momentum, you can get up those stairs.
Hey, you might study process, but
Yeah, that's your over 60 crisis going on, a day-to-day choice. So anyhow, Melissa, I'm sorry you're there, but we've been talking.
No worries.
I tell you what, I need to head out here pretty much, because I'm going to another event tonight, so I've got a long drive. And sorry, said Mr. Deal isn't here, which he should be, so that we can go drive together. That was very helpful. Chris was security for me when I was running for governor, and we traveled all over the place together and had a rat incident at one point. We got all these stories that were just crazy.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
We need to tell about the rat incident sometime, because that was nuts.
Hotel.
Yeah. So I'll tell it a little bit right now, because it was funny. So we're dying. We blew a trailer, a tire, or it wasn't a tire, but there was I have a triaxle trailer, and the chains broke, and so we had a problem there. We had a tire that blew, and so we were in the middle of nowhere, and we had to get up to Lapeer. We pull in to this hotel as I'm babying this along, because I'm driving. We pull into this hotel. Chris and I look around, and Chris is like, ain't happening. It was illegal alien headquarters. They had a freaking circus out in the parking lot. And, you know, it was the craziest thing. So we're like, where are we going to go? We're going to go, get back on the road. So we get back on the road and we're like, okay, we're headed to Davison because our next event was in Davison. So we get there. So we're trying to find a place to stay there in Davison. There was one hotel that had one room and I'm like, that ain't happening because, you know, it's like, yeah, you're either sleeping in the truck or I'm sleeping in the truck, but that was the way it was going to be. So we decide, let's go there anyway and see what happens. Maybe a room will open up. So we end up getting there. And just before we got there, I called them back. I said, do you have 2 rooms there? And they said, by chance we do. He said, we had some underage kids that were drinking and I kicked them out. So I have 2 rooms. And I'm like, thank you, Jesus. This is amazing. We were so tired. So we get there in the hotel and Robert Cowper, a very good friend of ours, is headed that way. Him and Chris start talking about how they're going to, is Robert and Tara. So we got a whole bunch of friends and how they're going to fix the trailer so that we can be on the road, go home the next day. Right. So we get there, we stagger into the hotel. I say goodnight to Chris. Chris goes down to his room. I head up to my room and I get up there to go into the room and I go to unlock the door. And all of a sudden I look next to me and there's 2 guys coming out of the room going into the room next to me. And no, they're coming out. And the one guy has a rat on his shoulder. And I am like, I don't even know what to say. He looks at me and he's like, it's my pet. Looks like we're going to be, we're here for a week. Looks like we're going to be neighbors. And I'm like, no, we're not. My sense of humor is so gone at that moment in time. I go into my room and I call a couple of friends that are prayer. I said, I need you to pray for me right now because I have some absolutely crazy neighbors that came out of the room with a rat on their shoulder. I have a broken trailer. I'm stuck here right now. We've been traveling all over the place and my neighbor has a rat. And so by the time we talked for 15 minutes of the absurdity of this, we were all laughing till we cried. But it was just one of those things you don't expect is a neighbor who comes out of the room with a rat on his shoulder.
Those things bite.
I'm not necessarily scared of rats, but it was in the moment. A guy comes out with a freaking rat on his shoulder. I'm like, this is the day. This is definitely the day.
Yeah.
I just sent you ladies a link by text since I can't get on. This is one day ago. These are people in North Carolina. We're not seeing this. We're not getting a lot of views, but apparently there's stuff going on with the water.
Oh, I imagine so. Yeah, I imagine they would have situations with their water.
Oh, hell yeah.
So
yeah, I would imagine that.
That one. This is the stuff I'm trying to get out. Like if you go onto TikTok, any platform, and you find the people that are there, the actual victims that are trying to get their voice out, they barely have any views. They are being censored.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, you're not hearing anything.
Yeah, this one, she don't have very many views either. Wow.
Can you put that in the private chat there, Christina?
I had a young man named Arthur Taylor.
It's easier for me to get it there.
Yeah, Christina could put it in because I can't.
Yeah, I think this is something to remember is that they're only telling us what they want us to hear. That's why all of a sudden, where's North Carolina and Tennessee on the news cycle? I have a friend yesterday that was going to get a truck together and go down there with supplies and go work because he's like, I'm coming down with all my heavy equipment, my work trailer, and he has a 12-person van. It's Bill Moore. And he said every person that said they were going to go down there except one woman decided that they were going to back out. And so it's out of the news cycle. People don't think it's important. And
yeah, so I found a post last night from another person local and all these people that are getting turned around. So all the towns and hollers that have had a lot of coverage, they are turning people around because they have too many. But there's a list of like 15 other little hollers and towns that are wanting people to come because they're not getting the attention. Some of these places I've never heard of. I sent that in one of the links by text this morning. I'll try to find it back, and I want to do another piece, to get out on those specific areas because, I mean, people aren't hearing about those. Right?
Well, I tell you
people
what,
that are getting turned away in one place should probably be diverting to these other areas where FEMA is not at, where you don't have the officials at, where they're literally on their own.
why don't we do this? Can you guys come back on Thursday?
Yeah.
Let's do this again Thursday. Chris, can you come on Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
What, 10?
Let's do, I've got Off the Grid coming on at 9. So if you guys want to come on at I've got to leave early that day. Yeah, we could do 10 o'clock. Let's do 10 o'clock on Thursday. And I think if you want to come on earlier, then I'll just give you guys all the links, because it's going to be Ralph, Karen, and David if he comes on earlier. So you can plan on 9 o'clock, and we'll just have a great big happy party on Thursday.
All right.
Sounds fun.
Sounds wonderful. Well, let's say a prayer, guys, and we're going to go to our day, because I've got to get moving here. I've got a little bit of driving to do today without Chris. So,
And the rat.
and the oh man, we could write a book.
And the dirty clothes hanging out every single window of the motel.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
We go into the parking lot, and it's like you've got people on trucks, over trucks, around trucks. They've got a trampoline out in the middle of the parking lot. They've got, I mean, it was like crazy. It was
a literal circus. Okay, I was like,
I wasn't kidding you.
Got probably a 19 or 20-year-old kid on a toy that a 10-year-old might use. You know, the circular thing that looks like a spaceship, shaped like a spaceship, but it's got a ball in the middle.
Yeah.
And a handle, and they jump on it. They
Pogo
bounce
sticks or something.
And the guy's on his cell phone, you know, talking to whoever he's talking to, but bouncing on that toy at the same time. I'm like, this is a freaking zoo.
Yeah, and you know what? This was at a hotel in Lapeer, and then we started looking at the hotels and how much they were getting paid for the illegal housing there, and it was like, we're just like, nope, not doing it. This is
No, I'm not going in there and saying I really do I would really love to stay here tonight.
Yeah, can I have a turn on the trampoline?
Yeah, I'm next.
Like,
Yeah,
we're so tired from driving with a broken chain and a flat tire, trying to get somewhere where we could actually have any help whatsoever, that it's like, no, I'm pretty sure that wasn't going to be on the schedule. So we did find something, and God blessed us with another place that was better, even though it had a rat involved in it, but that's okay. So gotta be flexible. We're here to save the nation. So anyhow, let's say a prayer here in a minute. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Chris, Christina, Melissa, and John today, and everyone who is willing to come forward and fight for this nation in the ways that you tell us to. It is a crazy world that we are living in right now, and you've gotten us on a wonderful adventure, testing our boundaries of what we think is possible, able to happen, and learning to trust you no matter what our eyes see and our ears hear. Thank you so much for the wonderful adventure, the craziness around us that teaches us to trust you more and more. You've been a wonderful friend to us, and we want to be a friend to you. Thank you so much for everything. Thank you for everything you've done for us. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys, boys and girls, here we go to bing, BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who's ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I would love to have a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this someday, with the requirement being wear cowboy boots. And with that said, everybody, God bless you all. God bless everyone whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. It's a choice. It is a choice. And if you don't have a good example, be one. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow with Liberty Essentials, and John Stubbins is going to be on tomorrow. So that will be fun. So I'm going to be taking a quick trip to the east side of the state and a quick trip back. How do you do that? How are you getting the hearts? I don't get any hearts.
I have an iPhone, and whenever you put your heart in front of
it's iPhone. Okay. That's why.
It's 15, iPhone 15.
I'm like doing this like forever, trying to get hearts, and I'm on my computer.
There is a bunch of them that I can do. I just haven't figured it. Well, I haven't figured it out yet.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you Thursday.
All right. Love you guys. Have a good day.
Tomorrow. Love you. Have a great day.
Take care.